That is a flawless entry, gentlemen. Flawless.
I was still muted. That's fine. That's all part of the plan.
Right in the door.
Yep. Just I gave my customary woo that you guys couldn't hear, and that's perfect. But hey, welcome to the show, everybody. Thank you for coming here on 6:30 PST on a Tuesday night. Yes, my youngest son, you are interrupting me for good reasons. You just want to say hi? Good. All right. Anyway, Justin, sir, how has your week been?
It's been pretty good, man. There's a lot of exciting things going on. We got Jared Chrisman, a friend of the channel, as a movie that it finally is out. He was making the circuits on the indie scene, winning awards and all that good stuff, and it is now out where you can get your eyes on it on Amazon, which is really awesome for him and exciting for the rest of us because we can all go and check it out. So now
I don't have to go to 3 Chinese illegal sites in a row to be able to watch it. It's pretty cool.
Before it was putting in the code, scanning QR things. I'm like, what the hell?
Some person in India is confirming my ID and asking for my social. I don't know, dude. It's kind of sketch.
I mean, yeah, it was worth it though. So that's out, which is awesome. So I'm excited to watch that and to share that with friends and things like that, so they can actually get their eyeballs on it as the ballad. Or Missouri Breaks, the Ballad of Missouri
Bill. There you go.
That's awesome. On top of that, today there was an announcement. They're doing a Tony Hawk 3 and 4 remastered coming out this summer.
Ooh, Tony Hawk 4 was my jam, dude. I played that game.
4, man. But 1 and 2 were
you were too old. You were already in your mid-40s by the time those came out, man.
I played games my whole life. I didn't stop playing. I just missed those ones for whatever reason. I don't know. And
I think 4 had the best music. And they kind of had figured out how to all of the best mechanics for those kind of games by that one.
I don't know, man. Thug's hard to beat, but
Thug was cool. Thug was cool.
Thug was great. And I'm excited because we have a genuine stand-up comedian on the show tonight. And I love comedy.
I know AC Pritchard. No.
Yes.
But Theo, how the hell have you been, man? It's the first time meeting you. Funny-looking guy. You're from the same area as me. I could tell. Yeah. I mean, the hat gives it away. But yeah, how the hell are you, dude?
Yeah, no, I'm doing good, man. I'm really happy to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Oh, of course,
man. Very excited, dude. That intro was legit, dude.
I know. Justin worked so hard on it, dude. He did everything. We did enough. He used the vocals on me and one of my kids, for Heave Ho, and then he put the whole thing together himself. He's a genius, man. It's great.
That's so cool.
Just go on, say more.
Absolutely. But yeah, real quick, AC. What are you there, my man? Or you had to check out for a minute? I think he had to check. Did he say in the private chat?
Nay.
No, but checking in, we got Bill down in the comments there. Yeah, the real winner is when the Blu-ray comes. Yeah, when the Blu-ray of Missouri Bill comes out, it's gonna be fantastic, man.
He's making a Blu-ray? Is that part of the whole?
No, he's saying that's the real winner move. For an indie movie is when you have official Blu-ray for it. That's kind of a sign of being a real winner. But yeah, man.
Laserdisc.
So we're gonna be talking about funny stuff. It's funny. Theo before the show, Justin was like, "So we don't really know Theo. I'm trying to help me come up with funny things to talk about." I'm like, "Dude, we are cracking each other the entire show. I think we'll be fine. I think we'll figure it out." And worst case scenario, we could just ask him. Comedians have no stories from all of their time doing live shows. There's nothing to talk about there, obviously.
Yeah, it's very uneventful.
Yes.
But also, today we are going to be discussing EUROTRIP, ye old classic. Do you have that takeaway there, Justin, or no?
Yeah, I do. And I'd never seen this movie before. And it's one of the ones that slipped under my radar, and people are like, you got to check this out. And I just never got around to it. So this is my first viewing, but I assume for both of you, this is probably viewing number 12
no, I saw part of it when I was younger, and I saw part of it when I was... Take this out there. I saw part of it when I was older, but because of time constraints and death courting sickness, I wasn't even able to finish it this time.
Oh no! Oh man!
But yeah.
Oh okay. What about you, Theo? Have you seen it before?
No, this was my first time watching it. It was in preparation for the show. It was a really good opportunity because what's her face died, and so everyone was talking about EUROTRIP.
What's her face? So respectful, fair, respectful.
Well, the girl with the face and the
she's the one. She's the one.
The hot one from EUROTRIP, whatever that girl.
Michelle Trachtenberg. Rest in peace.
Yes. Rest in peace.
That you guys also haven't seen this movie. I had friends constantly telling me dude, you got to check it out. Watch that.
Yeah, but there's a whole bunch of comedies of a certain era that I never watched. Not because I don't like comedies from that era, but because I think I watched all of the good ones. It's like anybody, to all those people who told me to watch Pineapple Express, what the hell were you smoking, dude? That movie's not funny. It's like,
I didn't see that one.
Oh, it drags, honestly.
I can't do Rogan, or is that his name, Seth Rogen?
Yeah,
Rogan is hit or miss. Like Knocked Up, also not a good movie, but ironically another Rogan film. But yeah, well, what's your opinion on that, Theo? Like, what are some comedy movies that kind of jive with you?
My hot take: I didn't get Superbad for years and years. Everyone was talking about how great Superbad was, and I did not understand.
It just did not vibe.
It wasn't until I was like an adult and I could kind of reflect on it and be like, oh yeah, teenage boys are kind of disgusting, and that is kind of funny. Like that part of it was funny now, but like, yeah, this whole Seth Rogen genre of the comedy has like never vibed with me. I don't know.
It's hit or miss. When it's good, just like anything else. But
what about like a Harold and Kumar? Did that one do anything for you?
Yeah,
a little bit.
Harold and Kumar to a degree. Yeah, it was good. I don't know, like,
yep.
A lot of those movies from that era, just like, I don't know. It's just like they I feel like they had a moment, and then the other thing too was there were just like not as many movies coming out, so there'd be like a movie in theaters, and everyone would be quoting it, and then you could like, bond with people. And now there's so many more garbage movies, and they all suck. And so it's like we don't have any like shared, cultural gems.
Oh yeah.
Like what was your guys' like number one comedy growing up? Number one.
Jeez.
I have two, and it's not even close because it was part of my like threat, like in my DNA as a child, and that is Dumb and Dumber and Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls. The second one specifically. I love the first one, but the second one, that for some reason, it was maybe the animals, man, but that like formed my identity growing up. I don't know if Justin, you've seen how I act. There's no semblance of that left, but
yeah, there's a lot of that physical comedy in you, which I understand. That's the Jim Carrey influence. I think it might have been Austin Powers was a big one when that came out. I might have been in 7th or 8th grade, so it was the perfect age, especially for the second one. And we watched that tape like 1,000 times, but. I don't know, all these movies. I feel like it was I feel like a lot of them they were more funny to talk about than they were to watch. Like they were entertaining.
Yeah. That's your Will Ferrell effect. And I disagree. I still love watching those movies.
They're entertaining, but like whenever your buddy's talking about it, you're like, this is the funniest movie on the planet. And then you throw it in, you're like, oh wait, Dave told that joke and just like it was better. I don't know.
Step Brothers is like that. Step Brothers is like that. Like
put my ball sack on your drum set.
It's way more fun to watch with other people. If you just watch Step Brothers by yourself, you're going to be like, people are terrible.
It's a buddy movie, so if you watch it without a buddy, it's kind of depressing.
Yeah, dude.
For sure.
For real.
Yep. All right, well, AC, you're not back, are you? All right, very good. Well, if you guys want, we can get into the summary. We can talk about the movie and then move on from there. So
that sounds good. That sounds good.
Yeah, we're talking about this is like a little bit of a cult classic, I would say, at this point. Right? A little bit. There's enough buzz around. This is from 2004. This is EUROTRip.
This is newer than I thought it was, than I remembered it being. That's the weird part.
Hard, man. Movies in that like 6-year span. I'm like, if it's 99 or 05, it's kind of it's all like one big year in a lot of ways.
Could we just watch Blonde Chicks next time? I don't know if we're going back that far.
I've never seen that. I don't know that I ever will, to be honest with you. It's not my cup of tea. But this one, so when Scotty's German online pen pal, what's her name, Big Mike, suggests they meet, he initially freaks out. But then he discovers that she's gorgeous, and he heads out there with 3 friends after graduation to meet her. And as they travel across Europe, the 4 friends have many comical misadventures, if that's what you call some of it. I think is a little bit more than that. A little Game of Thrones action-y going on in a couple of these moments. Starring Scott Mecklowitz, old Jacob Pitts, Michelle Trachtenberg, Travis Wester. The budget on this, $25 million, and it only made $22 million, which surprised me. I thought that this was
a little bit, yeah.
$20 million budget. I thought it would have made like 40, like it did okay or something, or maybe barely over, but not.
A lot of these kind of cult comedies did not always do well when they came out. Quite a few of them did, but there's a good handful of them, and just like, how did this become a cult movie?
Yeah, I'd have to
DVD sales.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they used to do that. Now they don't. Yeah, you really,
Dude,
I mean,
I went into Target the other day. Like, I was getting my kid a couple toys and some medicine and stuff.
yeah.
And I'm like, all right, let's do an experiment, Elric. We walk to the back. Not a single DVD. Not a single one inside. They usually have a little portion, like a box or something. Not a nothing. Not a single DVD left in the store.
Yeah.
What a tragedy.
Which store was this?
Target, dude.
Target. Man.
Yeah,
I
that
guess
demon
Walmart.
store. Remember? Haven't you heard?
I don't know. Walmart. I run straight to the back. They got that like $5 DVD bin where you get the the
Walmart.
entire
Well,
Fast and Furious franchise for like $8 or something. Except it's -1 film. And it's like,
dude, I want to get that
20
Japanese
there.
edition of Jindiana Jones, like I found in Walmart when I was a kid. I've never found it again. I've looked online; it does not exist. I have not found any evidence this movie is actually real.
Oh,
I
dude,
just
is
bought
this
it when
like
I was a
your,
child.
Is this like your Kazam or Shazoo or whatever it was with Shaquille O'Neal from back in the day?
Oh yeah, that movie is wild, dude. But yeah, no, there's like this Japanese, like I think it was like maybe Bollywood knockoff of Indiana Jones called, and it was Jindiana Jones, and it was terrible. It was the worst thing ever made.
Solid.
One sec.
I'll have to check and see if there's DVDs at my local Target. I'm curious about that now. I know there are at the Walmart. Like I said, I've been to the Walmart. They got like the $5 bin of, random assorted movies like the Lonesome Dove trilogy or like just Lethal Weapons 1 through 4 or whatever.
Do you want to own 8 different movies of like Clint Eastwood's on DVD?
What's crazy, so my favorite one that I got of those was the Blade trilogy plus that straight to TV Blade movie they made with Sticky Fingers, the rapper playing.
Yes.
That movie was trash. I forgot
really
it existed.
bad.
People
Yeah, it's
forgot.
really bad.
Doesn't like I've talked about this movie. It is like Blade gets his ass kicked the entire film by ordinary people, not even vampires.
Yeah.
And it's about the girl, a college girl, investigating him, like on a 4.5 cent budget, basically.
What's crazy is they used that to launch a TV series, which is
No, they didn't.
There's a whole series with Sticky Fingers.
No.
Yes, sir.
Why would the
Yeah.
No, so like regardless of whatever they do with this upcoming Blade film that I'm probably not going to see, frankly, it can't be as bad as that.
No
matter what they do, it can't be that bad.
It's crazy because they did such a good job. I don't know, maybe with Deadpool and Wolverine paving the way for like R-rated superhero movies, they'll see like the marketability of that, and maybe they'll let something nasty happen with.
I was a little shook that they had Wesley Snipes show up in that movie. I was so happy, so
cool.
surprised.
That was pretty cool,
neat.
man.
Yeah, seeing all the old face. I'm like, oh yeah, Jennifer Garner as Elektra. Who was asking for that? Anyway, and a few others, but no, that was a fun film. That was a fun film.
I don't know. There's a lot of like you get those schlocky ones, but it's kind of fun when you get those collections. They tack on something at the end there like that. And is it so bad that it's kind of good, or is it just unwatchable?
No, yeah,
it's hard to watch. It's also boring.
It's tough. Yeah, that's the thing is like I'm a big proponent of like watching things that are bad on purpose. Like
me too, absolutely.
Every Kirk Cameron faith-based film I have seen.
Ooh.
Like
some of those are pretty bad. Not all of them.
Yeah,
some of them.
Yeah,
are
but
really bad.
his Left Behind. I've seen the Kirk Cameron Left Behind series, and I saw the Left Behind they made starring Nicolas Cage. So I
forgot that happened. Thank you for that. Oh my god.
I like to punish myself with movies on purpose, and even for me, this.
You ever see Battlefield Earth?
No, is that good?
No, it's terrible.
It's really
it came out immediately after The Matrix. It was based off of the book written by the guy who made up Scientology, and it was made by Scientologist actors in Hollywood who wanted this to be a thing.
Nice.
They tried to do slow-mo like Matrix style fighting, but they didn't film it in high definition to become slow-mo, and they didn't have the budget. And they would ADR things in after. It's maybe the stupidest high budget film I've ever seen. Terrible. And it's not. It looks like Star Trek, or like maybe It looks like Stargate if they didn't even try.
Yeah.
And then there's monkeys, and the whole movie is bafflingly bad, and it is star-studded. There are people all over that film. It's like that Skinwalkers movie by Stephen King. His straight, like, it wasn't based on a book. It was based off of his manuscript to become a film. You guys ever see that?
No, I don't
Oh,
believe
Christ.
I have.
They kill the spoilers for that movie. They kill the alien at the end because when cats scratch it, it explodes. Don't know why. No explanation why. Doesn't make sense. It got scratched by a cat before, and cats were always afraid of it. Whatever. There's an implied incest scene in the beginning that is not real because both those people are aliens, so it's completely unnecessary. Guy gets pulled over, and he's like, the cop is trying to like pulls over the student. He's like, "Hey, so you're going to do me some favors?" Like, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. The guy's like, "I'd appreciate if you keep your hands to yourself." Rips off the guy's arm. So here's yours. And it's the worst. It's the worst film maybe ever made. It has like Ron Perlman. It has 500 other actors in it. It doesn't make sense. It's a terrible movie. I'll be right back. Sorry.
Yep. So with this movie, obviously the first time that I've seen it, the first time you've seen it, what were your what's your gut reaction to it, I guess? Not rating necessarily, but kind of like the vibe early on. How were you feeling about it going into it and all that?
I had a lot of fun. It reminded me
good.
of a time when movies could just be fun. And then they didn't have to also be inclusive and sensitive. Sometimes also what's weird is like sometimes the people in movies are just like bad. And you can trust the audience to know that the character's making a bad decision. You don't have to have another character show up from the HR department to scold them and write them a citation and, send them sensitivity training. You can just trust the audience to know that that person's behaving badly, and it was pretty cool. Oh man, yeah, it reminded me of, it was just good, clean, irreverent, completely preposterous, unrealistic fun. Fred Armisen is in it randomly. Lucy Lawless is in it at one point as a fucking dominatrix. I'm never getting that image out of my head.
I didn't realize that was her.
I'm gonna print that out and tape it to my ceiling, actually. That's what I'm gonna do.
Why is it sticky, Theo? We got
I didn't know that was Lucy Lawless.
Yeah.
Oh Christ.
That dude.
Look at that. Yeah, these kind of movies, it's the kind of thing. I feel like they don't make movies like this anymore. And it's kind of, at the time, it's almost too much of what it is. And we were so, too many of them. So you got kind of sick of it. But it's been so long, you go back and you watch, and you're like,
it's kind of refreshing. Yeah.
Yeah, I know this isn't a great movie, but I don't care, man. I'm having fun. I'm having, popping a can and having some popcorn.
At least back in the day when a movie was really, really bad, it was funny. And now, I feel like movies aren't even good when they're not even fun to hate watch anymore.
Yeah, they just suck. It's just like there's nothing about this that's
big old nothing burger. And it's like, I'm glad this cost $248 million. Anyway.
Now, I kind of wonder if this movie, if they had gotten bigger names to be the leads, if it would have done better. Because I've never heard of any of these kids. Nothing against them, but Scott Mechalowicz.
That one chick, I can't remember her name, but one of the European girls. I've seen her. She's worked. I've seen her before. I don't know even what her name is, but I've seen her before.
She wasn't part of the main party though, right? Like the main characters. Like Trachtenberg was the biggest name, and she was a name, so that was it. But like Jacob Bitz, who's this guy? Travis Wester. They did a fine job, but I don't know. They didn't grab me with their characters the way that maybe some bigger names.
American Pie. That's a good example. That's a movie where all the characters kind of grabbed me when I watched it. It's like kind of similar kind of humor in some ways, but ultimately American Pie and its sequels are much better films than this, in my opinion.
I've never seen any of the American Pies either.
Oh no, really?
Yeah.
I mean, they're harsh, but they're pretty damn funny. And like Theo, any opinions, brother?
Yeah, I was a big fan of the American Pie movies when they came out. I mean, again, when I was you got to understand, when I was 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, a movie that showed a pair of boobs was like life altering.
That's number 2, I think.
Yeah.
Or did they in number 1 too? I can't remember. But
I think number 1 and then number 2 they skipped it, and then the movies became straight to DVD releases with gratuitous nudity being like central to the reason they made the movie. And that was where I think the franchise really turned a corner and became all that it could be. At least for me as a young man coming of age.
You see, I never got to see those versions of those later sequels. I got to see the boring versions that were much shorter for some reason.
Yeah.
I was like, it feels like something's missing from these movies.
Oh, terrible.
Oh.
But
no, as far as that goes, man, I have a copy of Mask of Zorro that's paused in Like it gets pretty rough around a certain fight scene in that movie.
I'm familiar
for that kind of reasons. Oh, so yeah.
Yeah.
Bro, not even DVD, like VHS. If you pause at just the right spot, you see like the blurriest tit you've ever seen on screen for just one moment, and that was very exciting.
See, that's what I'm saying. I think internet porn fucking ruined it. If I'm being honest, I think
Well, like, we had to work for it when we were kids, man.
Where you had to, dude. So even in like back in the day, I got a hold of Happy Gilmore, and there's the scene where he autographs that girl's tit, and I used to like pause it and like zoom in on my DVD player. Because that's what you had to do. It's not even a full tit. It's like in a bra, But at the time, I'm like 13 years old. This is the best I could do on short notice.
Dude, believe me, I had to go to the books for my comeuppance, man. Like I was reading a Halo book, and there's a very graphic sex scene in one of those books for some reason out of nowhere. Like,
yeah, dude. I'm telling you, dude. I think I agree with Bill Armstrong. I don't know you, Bill Armstrong, but I see you in the chat. Gooting is like not the move, man. I think that's screwed up everything. I think we got to go back to young men having to like share a torn page out of a Playboy in a treehouse in the woods somewhere. I think
it's still degenerate, but it's not this all-consuming like.
It can't be in your pocket. Whatever you want. That's too much.
Yeah, my kids, I'm never buying them a smartphone. Not while they're kids. Not until they're like when they're an adult, they'll buy their own smartphone. I don't give.
Yeah.
At that point, that's on them.
Yeah, and they pick it up quick. So my niece is 12 years old. She just got her first smartphone for her 12th birthday, and it's got a ton of parental controls on it, so she can't really have apps on it. But she got CapCut on there, and she is just in a few months, she has become like absolutely fucking pro at knocking out these like TikTok videos. And she's had it for a few months, but it's just intuitive to her.
And kids have a lot of time. That's the thing. That's the other thing you can spend 5 hours a day working on like learning something like that if you're a kid. That's very plausible.
No, yeah, and we just found out recently she hasn't been doing her homework, so that's why she's been.
Of course.
Bro, I was over there a couple days ago, and she had to read like 3 books in 24 hours to not go to summer school or some shit. It's one of these horrible. You guys remember middle school, right? How fucking terrible that is. Yeah, dude. So she was in procrastination situations of her own, sort of a prison of her own making. And
that's what most prisons are, as it turns out. But no, I feel that, man. I feel that. Like for me, like it was weird because I went to I was homeschooled, and then I went to like this Christian like wear a tie every day like middle school, and then I go into public school for the first time like 9th grade high school. Yeah, Bonnie Lake. So a bunch of like yuppie rich kids and a bunch of like hick country kids and so that was a weird situation there because it wasn't like ghetto kids and non-ghetto kids. It was like the whitest trash you've ever trashed, and then like the literal lake kids, like with like multi-million-dollar parents kind of thing. It's a weird situation, man. Especially being like good old me. Like I go up there, I'm already fully grown, so I think I'm gonna be this tough guy with a military style haircut, and I'm just like, hey guys, I don't even swear. How's it going?
Yeah, a part of me wonders if movies like this, if they're going to start happening again. Everything goes in cycles, and everything's a reboot. And how long will it be before you have a reboot of something like this, or somebody that just takes the DNA of these sorts of films and brings it back around? And the other thing is, too, is that if you're an indie, comedies are one of the cheaper kinds of movies you can make. Like, if you got a funny team and all that, you don't have to have a massive budget to get people laughing.
Yeah,
I mean, you have a guy in a microphone.
You need a decent script, and you need some guys with a little bit of chemistry. It's not that hard to do. In fact,
right.
Like what wasn't an Accepted? That was kind of Accepted. Always kind of felt like that. I'm like, this feels kind of low budget. It's like just these guys are kind of funny, and they showed up and worked with the script, and that's kind of how that movie came out. But that's always how it felt to me when I was watching it.
I love that movie. It's so like of the time period, and I think I was getting ready to go to college or just about in it at that time. So I was like,
so you were in it at the like me. I watched it like later retrospectively, like as a teenager. Yeah.
Oh no, I loved it, and this whole time period is like right up my alley when board sports were reigned supreme and everything was pop punk and all that. That's just,
Oh, see, like all of that was kind of fading by the time I was even getting in like into middle school, dude. Because like,
So
hell,
actually,
like
the budget on Accepted was 23 million, and it made 38. So it had a fairly big budget.
it made some money, but back then that actually meant they made money because like I don't think they had a big marketing budget for that film, but
I'm even thinking about like it's been a little while since these came out, but the budget on I sent you that link. We almost watched Kung Fury for this, and I love that movie.
I love that movie. To this
It's a
day, I
half
still.
hour, and it's freaking ridiculous. And it's just like a bunch of dudes. I don't even know what country they're in. I don't think they're in America based on their accents. And they just get like this giant warehouse. They paint the wall green, and they make the entire movie. It's pure green screen. They dub over it. It's got these silly '80s vibes and all that. But the budget on it was only $630,000. And I know
That's
it's not
awesome.
a full length feature film, but it's not a $25 million budget either. And if you watch it, I mean, people go crazy. I don't know if you got a chance, even if you checked out the trailer, but it's phenomenal.
It's
Half
pretty
hour watch,
wild.
great stuff.
Pretty wild. Yeah.
And then even shows like VGHS that came out it was probably about a decade ago now. I think.
That feels wrong, but that is correct. Yeah.
Yeah. And that
Video
was
Game
another
High
one.
School. Yeah, that was a fun indie kind of project. I enjoyed it for what it was.
Budget on it was under $1 million, and you got like some big. You got not huge names, but Zachary Levi was in it for a little bit, and there's a couple other recognizable people. The chick that played Jenny Matrix went on to be in
that one guy from the what was it? The
eating
Epic Meal Time. Epic Meal Time.
That was it.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah.
Not that he's like a big star, but you get some small people together like that.
It's the law.
God, dude, I love it.
I love
and they
that
did it
movie.
for under $1 million, so you get a small.
No,
team
it was
together,
great,
you can
dude.
make
Yeah.
this happen. So I feel like
And
people that are looking.
Yeah,
to
they made like what 3 seasons of that show, I think, or something like that. Pretty crazy.
Third season was a little bit rough. It got
All right,
better at the end.
Okay, guys, I gotta take maybe 10 minutes here to do this call with my kids, legal stuff. AC, you can pop in and AC, you can be the captain for a little bit.
Okay, I have no control over stuff, but
You don't need control.
I'll guide it. I will guide it.
There you go.
I guess. I'll try my
So
best.
I mean, it's the kind of thing you're doing comedy. Do you have any? Is you like stand up, ride or die stand up, or do you have intentions of like, no, this could be a vehicle that gets me in the door to maybe do an indie project like this? And nope.
Well, okay. I would consider it. I think, well, okay. So I have a couple of thoughts on this, like just with my gut feeling about the way the wind is blowing. I think the 90-minute or 2-hour comedy is, I think that is on the way out. I don't think there's going to be a lot of demand for that going forward. I think people really like television. So I think like what I would like to do is like a 6-episode limited series where I tell one story over the course of 6 episodes. That kind of thing interests me. I like doing stuff like that. And I like one of the things I really like about like British television. Have you seen the IT Crowd?
I've seen like 2 episodes of it a while ago, but it was pretty funny.
Right. So the IT Crowd has like 4 seasons. They got like 4 or 5 episodes each season. They did a movie and then they were done. And they were done before anyone got tired of them. In America, you got to do like 89 seasons and there's got to be 27 episodes every season. So you're going to have some duds in there. And it's just like, why don't you just stop when you're done telling the story? Why do you need to just fill space? And it gets vacuous. It's bad for the art. But that's what I'd like to do something like that. And I'm having some opportunities to work in this, deal in some other art forms now, but it's just, I mean, just for budget reasons, it's easier. Like if you want to tell stories, it's easier to do like comic books or to do animated. That's
animated. Really?
Animated is tough. Well, if you know people that you can work with, that it's easier. If you have to just like find people and pay them, that's a nightmare. Don't do that. But the internet is like this magical place where if you have a cool idea, you can find other people who co-sign it, who will just like jump on it with you. That's kind of magical. And that's like all of us that like have like live streams or podcasts or whatever, we just kind of like bumped into people and started making cool shit with them. Right. And then all of a sudden people were watching it and you're like, shit, I better keep doing this. It's kind of, it's great. And it's one of the advantages. You see this in stand-up too. There's some people who are still like, in the 90s, the way to make it in stand-up was you like fucking sleep in your car in the comedy club parking lot and like wait to get picked. And now it's just like there are people who are still doing that, but you're wasting your time. The real competition is happening online, and it's a slugfest. Some people have done it really effectively, but like, yeah, you could build up a whole following online without any kind of like institutional support whatsoever. And that's really cool.
Yo, for sure. I mean, we'll talk more about that as the show goes on and things like that. I just don't know. I'm like, for people that are in the scene, because you're in the mix.
Yeah.
Somebody comes up to you and they're like, "Hey, Theo, we are making a sequel. We're making EuroTrip 2. We want you to be the lead here. We want you to be the next Scott Meklowicz. Are you in?" Like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And if it was going to theaters and all that, I feel like it'd still be hard to say no to that. But you're saying that's just like, it's just, you don't see it happening.
I mean, well, yeah. I mean, if I honestly, here's the thing: I'll do pretty much anything if you're paying me to show up. So but if you're asking for like me to, if you want me to like write something or put like my heart and soul in something, like I'm not unique in this. That I've had my heart broken by the institutions more than once, trying to bring my, creative vision to life. And it's like, if it's going to be now, if you just want me to, here's the thing, acting is not a skill or a talent or an art. Reading things other people wrote is not a skill. So if you want me,
the Oscars, how dare you?
Right. If you want me to show up and stand in a spot and say something someone else wrote, that's light work. That's fine. I'll do that as much as you want, but like, but yeah, I'd be super down. But like, if you're asking me to like bleed for it, then I want to have control of it, And the cool thing is like indie projects let you do that, and also the other thing is like the way I think the way streaming is set up is where the streaming companies make almost all of the money, and the people who actually make the thing are like barely getting by. So it's like, if you're gonna, I think the idea of like movie stars and big paydays and all this stuff is like, it's just not quite the ecosystem that it used to be,
Yeah, I think there's something there. I'm like a naive optimist with a lot of things.
Good.
And as I'm watching this movie, there's so many, like, even Matt Damon showing up in it, and he was like a pretty big name at this time period. He was pretty established, and he has this stupid role where he's this band singer, and he's got the buzzed head and the rings, and they got him to do it. So I would love them to at least try this. Somebody give it a shot. Maybe it's not the wave of the future. Maybe it might be the way Wolverine and Deadpool is, where is it going to bring superheroes back to the table?
Yeah.
I don't know. The trash man, all that. But
I will say, Gen Z is very irreverent with the kind of humor that they like. They want more of the irreverent stuff. So I think maybe you might see kind of a return to this as Gen Z kind of comes of age comedically. You might see that. Yeah, dude. I also, so when I look at stand-up, because that's kind of what I know, when I think of like great stand-up comedians, I'm usually thinking of Gen X. And then as I kind of see like the millennial generation, like the elder millennial comics are kind of like becoming established. And it's like, man, it's just like they're not like punching in the same weight class as some of the Gen X comics, They're just like not in the same category. And I wonder, I don't know. I think it's a weird time where I think stand-up is kind of going out, to be honest with you. I think shorts because there's so many people who are calling themselves comedians now that it's kind of diluted the meaning of it. And now it's not just like, it's not just like comedy clubs. It's not just people who are good at comedy or doing comedy, putting it on the internet. People who are terrible at comedy are doing it and putting it on the internet. And it's just happening everywhere all the time, to the point that it's like, it's so like freely available. It's like a stand-up comedy short is like a dick pic. It has no value because the market's just flooded. Everybody's just shooting them out there, for free.
Isn't it kind of
And
also that you have more reach to it at the same time, though? Like,
yeah,
there's a ton of it, but it's like a double-edged sword in that sense.
yeah. So it's the challenge is, I think, standing out, and so and also like doing, if you don't need, the other thing is like you don't need millions of people to know who you are. You just need the people who know who you are to care a little bit, and so. Like that's the thing that online gives you, which you can get through podcasting, through Patreon, through, producing your own merch and producing your own shit and like keeping it with your people, is that even if not a lot of people know who you are, you can build a deep personal relationship with an audience, and you can kind of like make stuff that they appreciate. So I think it's actually better, but I don't know if you're going to see as many of the like big stars as you used to. I'm not sure that's, yeah.
You know what I think would be really cool is because like movie theaters are kind of dying too. They're around, but they don't have the big, you get your big movies here and there, and it's kind of a struggle. And I don't know how you put butts in seats, and maybe this idea wouldn't work at all, but I want somebody to try because I think it would be cool. Is you have more of, if it is small scale indie kind of stuff, you get a little bit more of those and to kind of fill in between. I don't know if you sell tickets, but I mean, to throw a movie on the screen once it's set up, I mean, how much does that cost at that point in time? And it could be that sort of thing. Because you were saying before, you were talking about this being like that, the time period that this movie came out, and it was a cultural touchstone for a lot of people. And that's why, I guarantee there was dudes running around like, this isn't where I parked my car. Like, I guarantee, like, everybody was saying that.
Yeah.
And it sucks because it's so easy to find your own niche online. It's awesome because you can find it, but also sucks in a sense because to have that glue between different groups of people, it's not as easy. So I'm wondering if maybe there's a avenue in the future, possibility, where you get some smaller indie type things that can get on big screens. And maybe it's not the entire nation, maybe it's more of a local scene, kind of like local bands are, but at least in a smaller sense, you have that little touchstone that the people can gather on. I think that would be really cool.
That would be nice. I agree with you. We've kind of lost like the water cooler movie. We've kind of lost that, where it's like,
sucks.
It's, you had something like you could quote something to your coworkers or whatever, and that everybody was like, bonding over. I don't know, maybe we're going to see the return of like regional art scenes, and maybe that would be nice. Maybe it would be nice, instead of like, I think people have this perception that if art wasn't made in New York or Los Angeles, then it sucks. And that's not true. And
Wouldn't it be nice if we were old? Sorry, what's up?
How you doing?
Yeah, I get that vibe. Even talking to like my buddy earlier, he's like a huge fan of all films. He sees everything, and he was watching the Oscars, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I might watch some of the Oscar films." I was just like, "Dude, they're gonna suck."
In 2025, that's rough. Or 2024, I guess. But
no, and he's like, "Well, actually, this one wasn't so bad." And I watched that. I'm just like, man. So even if you wanted to try and find some kind of water cooler movie to have in common, it's like that's the best that's out there. Like this is rough, and everybody gets that vibe, or at least there's enough of the people that I think have that sense that there's got to be a shift. And again, I get back to like, I don't know. You might be completely right. These movies are just a thing of the past, and time has moved on. But I don't know. I'd be curious. There's got to be some Gen Z kids out there that their parents showed them this stuff growing up whenever they were 12 or 13.
I do. No, I think they're making TV shows though. I don't think they like movies because they don't have the attention span. I think which weird, they'll binge.
They both want something that never ends and also something that's short.
Yeah, so the TV show scratches that itch in a weird way because of like, I guess it's pacing, and also you get to know the characters a little bit. So they'll sit down and watch 7 episodes of a show, but they won't watch a 2-hour movie.
It's also weird as like a parent, because like AC's a parent. Theo, do you have any kids or no?
I do not. Not blessed.
Okay. Not blessed that way yet. Anyway, you've heard my blessings, screaming blessings all night long. But it's weird because like I have to check everything they watch now. Half the time, I'm just sending them to watch stuff that came out before I was born or when I was growing up, because half of these shows are like they have these weird. Like I caught this one show teaching communism. I'm like,
really?
Yeah, dude. Like full on, like full blown, like
they were
young
it was
kid.
Bad, right? That it was
right.
Bad?
I didn't say it was bad. No, it was great. Tremendous communism. You wouldn't believe the communism this kid show had. But But yeah, no, like a bunch of them like are very inappropriate or talk about like sexual stuff too, and it's like this is pretty wild. I feel like I saw stuff like this, but not like it wasn't kids shows when I was growing up. It's pretty wild, dude.
No, it's weird. I see like kid shows where they got like fucking like drag queens and like fucking non-binary characters and shit. And it's like, bro, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? What am I missing? Like,
there's that Transformers show that I had to stop my kids from watching. Same thing. It's like I don't feel like a he or a she. And then someone did that great edit. It's like Optimus Prime for one of the movies. Not today. Like crushes a little small.
Yeah. Now, on the same thing though, like if you get back to this sort of throwaway weekend comedy, because this is a point in time where you could catch movies like this virtually every weekend, where you can go out with your buddies and go see a movie. Is it the best thing you ever saw? No, but do you quote it and it was fun and silly? Absolutely. And I kind of wonder if
I watched Harold and Kumar 3, the Christmas edition, in theaters. It was in 3D, and that weed smoke was so realistic. And maybe it's because people in the audience were partaking as well, but it was very real. It was very in there.
Now, but I wonder if somebody does take a stab at it and just tries to recreate this, tries to take this moment and put it in present day, and it goes to theaters. It's for whatever age range. I wonder how it does. I wonder if it's a total dud. And it is a thing, or if people would be like, yes, finally a stupid movie that's just like this goofy humor with lines like, I'm never drinking again, and little brother giving his older brother crap and translating German for him so he can talk to Mika, not Big Mike, and all that. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I'd get my boys together, I'd be like, yo, we gotta see this. This movie looks stupid. Let's get after it.
I would support it for sure. I do think there's so I was talking about this on my show a week or two ago.
Oh yeah, Theo, I forgot to ask you. What is your show? What are you doing on your show? Are you just bringing people on, talking about funny subjects, or like is there a plan going in?
Yeah, well, so this is I guess the short answer is I want men and women to get along, and I'd say that, and people laugh at me. I'd say mostly I say this to like bottle girls in comedy clubs, and you
are a comedian, aren't you?
But yeah,
talking to bottle girls, that's pretty funny.
That's who I meet. People fucking bust my chops for hitting on girls with neck tattoos, but it's like I gotta be where they at, and that's where I'm at. The only time I leave my house is I'm doing comedy.
Depends on the neck tattoo, man. But no normal girl has a neck tattoo. Dude, maybe that's what you're looking for, man. Maybe you're looking for
just what's available.
Dude, I've sexually never peaked higher, but we also got arrested. Is that the kind of night you're looking for?
Yes.
What if the premise of the show is there's a stand-up comic and he's trying to meet women in normal
That's
places,
pretty funny.
But instead of being at a bar at an open mic, he's hanging out like a plant, like at the grocery store. He's just waiting with oranges, and he has like a planned joke, just waiting for the right girl to come along to like make the joke and try to break the ice.
Dude.
Just goes in different places trying to find the. It's just
That's kind of right. That's kind of like I would do 6 episodes of that.
Yeah, like it could be a mini series, maybe not like a full like multi-season show.
Yeah, but I'd watch a movie. I'd be honest. I'd watch.
Like that's full. Like to me that sounds like a 6-episode series. That'd be a great 6-episode series, and then it's done, and everybody's like, make a season 2, and then you don't. Right?
Then it's gone forever.
It's just you tell the story you wanted to tell, and then you stop, and then you tell a different story about different people.
Yep.
That's what you do.
Yeah, you got it. And you, in fact, you have the ending in mind when you start. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so one of my favorite shows ever is Californication, and there's a lot of shows that kind of fit this model. But basically, the first season is incredible because they had a really good idea. And they had a beginning, middle, and end for that really good idea, and then they told the story, and
then it's America, and they made money, so they're going to keep making more and making more money until the idea is more wrung out than a Las Vegas hooker.
Right. So by the time you get to season 7, you have
it's begging for the sweet release of death.
Yeah, and you have a character that's like in the case of that show, you have a character that is no longer likable because he hasn't changed. His bad behavior in season 1 was sad because you thought, oh man, he's going through a hard time. 7 seasons later, nope, this guy just sucks.
Yeah,
this guy just sucks.
100%. Now, say what you want about anime, they do the same thing. But like, if you don't like the like, if the gimmick is too like the gimmick will work maybe for if it's a bad show, the gimmick will work for one episode exactly, maybe two, and then it's like, okay, I don't need to watch the rest of like this 12 or 24 episode thing, and like, but even if it's like that, that's as long as it gets. It doesn't get longer than that unless it's an actually good product, which I guess is kind of nice. Unless like The Office was good for a while, and then it just kept going.
Yeah.
Like even Parks and Rec, which was shorter, same problem. Like they had outlived its welcome. Some of these shows like are like most shows, their premise does not carry them beyond 3 seasons. I'm convinced.
Mm-hmm.
What's been your guys' experience with that?
Say again, because I was trying to process 3 thoughts and I missed exactly what you were asking. Run it back.
Oh no, it's okay. You're not on the quantum level here yet, Justin. You'll get there, buddy. No, I think the promise or the premise of most shows does not survive much. Should not survive beyond 3 seasons. Most are not good enough ideas, or there's not a good enough cast, or like in some cases of some shows, they're able to crank out so many good episodes so quickly that they don't leave the story anywhere to go organically. So they have to like Frankenstein this thing together to keep it going.
I get that. I'm sort of the mind though. Like if you give me a nice, solid 3 out of 5 vanilla ice cream,
where no women get hurt, there's no conflict, everybody just gets along.
If you just give me that and you give me more of it, I'll be like, and maybe it goes from a 3 to a 2.5. I'm like, it's close enough to the vanilla 3 I did enjoy. And then it'll just make the 5 out of 5 special vanillas that come out. They're just that much tastier. But I'm not necessarily.
Oh yeah, like Highlander. Yeah, gems in the rough for sure.
Dude, so good. This conversation reminded me, and this is like the whole thing. I'm like, I love movie theaters. I haven't given up on them. I feel like these things need to come back. I feel like it's important.
If I'm going to a theater, I'm going with a gal or I'm going with one of my kids, man. That's the only reason now.
Well,
really? You're not going to get the boys on rare occasion? Like something?
I don't. If I'm with the boy, like my boys don't go to theaters, dude. They go up like snowmobiling and like adventure riding. It's like their idea of fun is usually,
Don't you have like different friend groups? Like that's the adventure friends. Then you got like your video game friends. Then you got your book online YouTube guy friends. And then you get, like you don't have.
You made this sound like a gay thing. I don't know. Theo, welcome to the club.
Your friendship wiener bros.
Yeah, guys, we're just gonna get on a really big beanbag chair and talk about books and philosophy, man. I don't know.
My point was just that, though. I feel like there's some sort of like magic that still exists in theaters. And I know that there's other people that feel that way as well. And to me, I'm thinking of shows like I put a link in here. This is a show that came out like 4 years ago. It's a pretty good show. It's really well made. It's pretty funny. It's called 4.5 Stars. Episode 1. It got like I don't even know, a couple hundred views, and that was it. And it just like fell into obscurity. Nobody knows about it. And it's a really, I think, a pretty darn well-made show and all that sort of stuff for YouTube. And it's just like it didn't catch traction for whatever reason. And that kind of thing. I'm like, if this was a short movie that maybe went to an indie theater, maybe it gets that audience. Because you can grow up by doing what you're doing, by having your podcast, making the rounds, coming on shows like this, getting your name out there and all that sort of thing. But if you're trying to do it without having to do as much of that, it's not possible. But if you're trying to do it just more the traditional way, I still have hope for theaters on some level.
Okay, yeah. What do you think about this? A lot of these theaters are kind of becoming luxury experiences. They got big, cushy seats that you can.
Oh, yeah.
Dude.
It makes me nostalgic for the shittiest old theaters that I used to go to. But I do like most of the time it's an occasion when I'm going a very specific movie, and so I'd rather have the better experience in that case, which also makes sense.
Yeah, so go ahead.
Sorry. No, you go ahead. You're the guest.
No, well, here's the thing. So as theaters become luxury experiences, they become more expensive. And one of the cool things about movies used to be that everybody could see movies. That was a cool thing. It was accessible, and anybody could do. It's one of the coolest things you could do, and anybody could do it. Get a movie ticket, get some popcorn, or you could get it at a second run theater. Maybe you catch it. We have one of those here in Spokane where you get them on the second run for a little cheaper.
Oh yeah,
and that was accessible. But now it's like, I mean, dude,
they can't afford, like, the economy and that industry is so tanked. They can't afford to make it cheap anymore. I think that's part of the problem.
Yeah. So that brings up this interesting point that you're making is like, is what if we rethink what a movie theater is for? and we use it for like indie movies and stuff like that, or like film festivals or whatever. I don't know.
I would watch this movie too if it's like, guys, I just want like these theaters are too nice, man. Don't you miss theaters that were just like busted up? And then
You remember that time we bought tickets and then there were no seats somehow? Yeah,
Yeah.
that happened. Like that, my best friend and I, we watched so many movies like that, but the one I remember was Narnia, because we went in, people were literally like sitting in the hallway. We sat on the seats, like on the steps going up, and every seat was sold. I'm like, how did they sell more tickets than seats exist? I mean, some people cheat their way in, but surely not this many.
Jeez, that only happened to me once. I left. I'm too good. I'm too good to sit in the aisle there, Kahuna. Plus,
I went to a monster truck show in the back of a monster truck. When we went when I was younger. That's how it was, man.
Like you were in the back of that thing and was doing like flips off the ramp and all that. That's wild.
We did that on a motorcycle track, not that track. Also, like we're on the motorcycle track. There's 10 kids in the back of this thing. There's no tailgate. Like these are real jumps. It's like a 11 or 12 foot lip. A freaking 75-foot jump, and we're like, he's going slow, but like we're back there. It's like, hey, if anyone falls off, let me know.
So there's the origin story. There's the setup. It starts with the a kid having that experience, and then he goes to the theater with his friends, and then it fast forwards, and he's like, man, everything's kind of lame nowadays, and that's how it gets to the setup. But we got to buy a theater, boys. And they're like, I'm past that. You get the gang together, you buy the theater, and it's all run down.
I feel like you would almost have to go back to like a drive-in or something like that. I watched a bunch of movies in drive.
I've only been to a drive-in one time. It was an interesting experience, but the audio was terrible because it just came through the radio. It was like AM 1500 or whatever, and it just sounded like it was cool, but it wasn't a theater experience, even the old school kind of theater experience. But
yeah,
I don't know. I'm holding on hope this kind of thing will make its way back in the theater. So in the movie, you were talking about. There was some interesting cameos, and you got Lucy Lawless. Was that dude? Was the soccer hooligan? Was that Sabretooth or Saberwolf? Whoever it was from X-Men.
That could have been. I
swear it was him. And even a low-tier movie like this, the fact that they were pulling in bigger names, I thought was pretty interesting. Because that was pretty standard back then. People do it as just like a throwaway one-off kind of appearance or whatever, and that was cool. I'm trying to think what other. Like, there's a lot of dumb moments in this movie, but some of the funnier parts, some of the big takeaways, the stories, just they go on this misadventure in Europe, and obviously it leads to a lot of, like, funny scenarios. But there's, like, I feel like these movies, the execution of those big moments matter, but it's the little moments, too, that I think fill in the gaps and make it entertaining. Like, the guy's opening beer bottles with his eyeballs. Stuff like that was funny.
Because there's always somebody opening a beer with some part of the body that
yes, but both eyes
shouldn't be happening.
That's crazy.
And did I think like, is that possible? Should I try that?
I knew a Filipino woman who used her toes. I swear to God.
I believe that.
Does she have Instagram?
He feels like, let me look at them feet. Filipino girl, dude, you don't want to see those feet. Those things are, if they're not bitten by rats, they're not clean, dude. If they're real authentic.
Stuff like that, the sign, if you're not mank, then you're a wank. And then they're talking to these British dudes, and the way that they're swearing, and the two main characters just look at each other.
You can't even understand. I'm like,
they're on a completely different level of swearing over here. That made me laugh. Let's see. What other big moments?
This movie didn't stick with me very much, honestly.
It's funny as I'm going through my notes, I'm feeling the same way. I'm like, what was in this? There was a couple. I remember like
maybe I wasn't in the mood to watch it. Like that's happened for me too. Like I've watched movies. Like maybe I shouldn't watch my sister's keeper after a funeral. I don't know, dude. maybe this movie is not the vibe right now.
Well, you get like the French robot battle whenever they're in the Louvre line, just stupid stuff like that. And I just feel, I don't know, writing that on paper and be like, this is going to be funny. I'd be like, I don't know, man. I got to see it in action. And it worked out more or less, but I don't know. And the monk, he starts playing sweep the leg and they get that sort of stuff.
Grimm was decent. It lasts another show that lasted too long. It was good when I feel like it really hit its stride like in season 2 and 3. And then again, that season 3 thing, man, something happened and it just wasn't really worth it after that for me.
That's one of my hacks for in the era of streaming. As soon as the show starts getting bad, I quit watching it. So
see that's hard to do sometimes. Though it's a good practice, but it's a hard thing to do.
It's like no, I've been in enough bad relationships that I know what to do. Like it's better to end it mercifully.
So you've been in bad relationships. I've been in one really bad relationship, and that was I learned everything. I've been in a few bad relationships, and nothing compared to an 8.5-year marriage. Nothing compared to that. No.
Right, that's tough to walk off.
It's like you ever like sometimes guys become comedians like after like a tragedy in their life, like a divorce or like their life falls apart. It's like, anyway, every bit is going to be related to my bitch of an ex-wife. Hope you guys enjoy it.
Yeah, no, there's a few of those. You work it, but you got to get it out of your system, man, and then you can get.
Some of those guys can become very, very funny. Not all of them. Some of them.
Yeah, it's worth a try, man. Yeah.
A couple of moments in it that I thought were pretty funny. Well, first of all, shout out low-rise jeans. That's one thing. 2000s. That's got to come back into fashion. Low-rise jeans.
I'm surprised it hasn't yet.
I know, right?
Honestly.
And then the train, of course, you get Fred Armisen being a weirdo, and he's pretty funny in almost anything he does. He's just like fully on board with his characters. Yeah. They go to the nude beach, and it reminded me of the dudes that would sign up for ballet class back in the day. Like, oh, we're gonna be the only guys in there. It's gonna be all these girls. Gonna be dancing. And so the nude beach is all dudes, just like the ballet class was all dudes.
By the way, that's most nude beaches for anyone wondering.
Oh,
I almost wandered onto one when I was about 9 years old. That was a whole story.
A lot of guys around here.
It's like, yeah, and the next 2 times when I was older, and complete accident as well. Anyway, moving on.
I love the scene whenever the main dude and Trachtenberg, they're in Amsterdam, and they're just crushing those brownies. And they start losing it, and they're like tripping out and everything. And then it turns out the brownies were just normal brownies, and they just like.
Oh, so they set a self-induced hallucination.
Yeah, it was just the high of being in the environment and all that. And he's like, "You're a bad Rastafarian." Yeah, that scene was funny. I like comedy that subverts like that, and it's sort of dumb. Like you're rolling your eyes, like, "Oh," but I don't know. It was funny. I like that.
It's like that old Woody Harris, not Woody Harris. What the hell am I thinking? Yeah, no. Woody Harrelson. That's the guy's name. When he is with the what the hell are they called now? He's with the hardcore Christian communities, like the Amish. That's right. He's like, he milks the bowl in that whole scene. It's like he comes up like with this bucket full of milk, and it's like, so he takes a drink, it's sloshing everywhere, talking about it. He's like, yeah, it took a while to get it going, but once it gets started, it really went. Filled up a couple buckets. We don't have a cow. We have a bowl. I'm like, that is one of the worst. Oh, and his face, everything about that scene in that movie is just pure comedy gold. Like, I'm like, why can't we do stuff like that anymore? It's like set up, punchline, delivery, and like that's all you need, man. It's like, if you need to actually understand the structure of a joke. It's kind of like writing a story.
No, that's right. And millennial comedy, you can hear this. So millennial comedy is like, this is awkward. Like that's what we do. That's what we think.
Here's an anecdote about my life and my bad opinion about it.
And then here, or like, here's something that would be really funny if I typed it on Reddit. But now I'm gonna say it out loud, and I'm gonna end it with a question. You know what the problem is? Okay, you can. So when I watch John Oliver,
dude, you're so when you say that, my brain is. You're so right, dude. I hate that shit. It's not funny.
So I used to watch Last Week Tonight with John Oliver. I used to watch it religiously. It used to be really funny. And then around the time Trump got elected, he hired a bunch of women writers. I can actually hear the jokes that were written by women because of how much there's extra information, and he's stepping on the laughter. And it goes on too long, and there's too many descriptions. It's like, oh, that was written by a Reddit girl. That was written by
like one of those multi-hair colored Tumblr girls who were like posting like emo like wrist cutting videos online a couple of years back.
Yes, and her dad works at the studio, so she gets to be a comedy writer now.
Or find a way. But
this isn't like, and this is like, and it's the millennial sense of I don't know. Okay, so there's a few. If you want to understand what millennials think is funny, you got to understand.
Do they think it's funny though?
No. That's the thing. I don't. What I can tell you what they do think is funny, but they're having a hard time replicating it. What they think is funny is fucking Michael Scott, right? Which and How I Met Your Mother. And here's the thing: a lot of the jokes in How I Met Your Mother are haha, I'm a sex criminal, and you can't like translate that in current year.
It's like the continuity on those shows wasn't always great, but they had some good writing on those shows. Like How I Met Your Mother is a mess, and it kind of goes up and down as good. But when it's funny, it's very shockingly funny.
Sure. Yeah,
both because the character actors are very good, or at least good enough, with some good exceptions. And then some of the episodes are written very, very cleverly, very, very fun. Or it's like it's a fun situation, or it's an awkward situation, whatever your specialty is. Yeah. But I think that's kind of hard to replicate. Like when you're just writing a joke, it has to be more specific than that.
It's hard. Like, well, and so Michael Scott was brilliant because as a character, this is Steve Carell's invention. Obviously, he had this talent for calling everyone's attention and then immediately undermining his own authority and humiliating himself, but then continuing to go along as if the room was still with him. Right. So you've got,
it's like, we're all laughing. Or we're all laughing. Yeah.
I'm like that. And it's just brilliant. And he just lacks the self-awareness to realize that he's lost the room, and he keeps going as if he's
just absolutely slaying at every moment. Yeah.
And it's just so brilliant, but that's so hard to replicate. And I don't know. I also think that that kind of millennials came of age creatively at a time when we just abolished meritocracy in all aspects of society. So
and then suddenly every joke was not allowed anymore. And
also like we put the HR department in charge of deciding what comedy is, and that's not their job. And I don't mean the HR department literally. I mean like the great HR department in the sky that's making life so miserable for everyone right now. Like this whole like whiny finger wagging millennial cat lady.
Is it just like you're working the clubs, so you have a your fingers on the pulse, a very specific pulse. But I feel like that's kind of going away a little bit already.
Yes, the winds have shifted.
It's already kind of going back.
Yeah, the winds have shifted, and so when I meet people in the streets, a lot of times people are like, oh, I'm so glad you said it. I mean, I wouldn't, but I'm so glad you did. And I probably have.
It's like a breath of fresh air. It's like people are afraid to say things like. Yes. Yeah, like I'm a Christian, but if someone has a really good abortion joke, and they deliver it well, I'm probably going to laugh. Like Family Guy did that to me. It's like 1,700 abortion clinics, just pregnant women falling from like 20 feet up straight down. Yeah. It's like it made me chuckle. I don't know, man.
Yeah, we're open to it. And I think what's crazy is like, so I do a lot of jokes about like men be like this and women be like that, stuff that it would not be transgressive in 2004, but is kind of transgressive now. And
did you say man?
Right. So since we're in the Pacific Northwest, you know how that goes. Like,
it's such a weird culture here, dude. Yeah, it really is.
About once a month, I find myself getting yelled at by a white feminist with a master's degree and no children, right, in a parking lot of a comedy club somewhere. Or
is that when you whip out the Irish slave card and it's like, we were oppressed for many years?
No,
in the North African pirates.
Dude, I don't too much mind it because it's like that's all feedback is useful. But more than that, what I find is that who's sick and tired of like not being able to people want to hear jokes about themselves because part of being included in an adult relationship is being able to take a joke. Part of being accepted into adult society is being able to take a joke. Part of having intimacy with someone is being able to joke with that person. And
what you just said is offensive. And
right.
So we're done with that. No. See, that's funny.
Yeah. And I think one thing I'm noticing, couple of things. One, men are terrified, but they're happy someone is saying it. And a lot of, I would say, women are sick and tired. Most cool chicks, which I always say, cool chicks outnumber obnoxious chicks 3-1. But the one is
they don't yap as much.
Right, the one is the loud one, and it's very hard for them to check this behavior because that's just not how women do things, right? But cool chicks are out there, right? And let me tell you, cool chicks are tired of being treated like little babies who can't take a joke. Cool chicks like jokes.
Yeah.
Like that's reality. I mean, you guys are fucking married. You know how it goes. I mean, cool chicks like jokes,
I don't know, man. I'm divorced, so maybe I went too far.
Maybe you're not the guy.
No, it was weird because like I saw my wife's for a while back like start getting in like maybe 10 years or 5 or 6 years ago now, like started getting sucked into like the body positivity thing. I'm convinced it's because she was obviously overweight. It's like part of what her deal was. I'm like, no, what is this? This isn't this, like, I don't care I don't care if whether someone's chubby or skinny. I don't want a naked woman like walking down the street. It's just weird.
Yeah, I have.
Go
My
ahead.
wife loves jokes, but she's tough because she's of German ancestry.
Yeah.
You gotta find
They know they can take a joke, they can take a person, they can take anything they want.
I'll have a hilarious joke, and she's just like, didn't do anything for me, nothing, didn't even register. I'm like, all right, let's go back, try it again.
That being said, I have met some German. Like if I meet a German over here, they're usually pretty adventurous and kind of fun. But I met some Germans that were like not travelers and were just like, I'm like, ooh, you're not going to be a lot of fun around a campfire, are you?
Yeah.
I guess let me get in one more thing about this movie, and then we can sink or float it. And I think after that point, we can get into some of these other topics we got. I got some AI jokes you're talking about. Jokes. I had AI. I was like, roast Theo's
you do not. You do not have an AI joke.
I do. I got like 4 of them. They're all really dumb. But I love the scene in this movie towards the end there where they're in like that church of whatever sort, and they ring the bell and people think the Pope is dead, and then they burn the hat and they think a new Pope is selected, and then they think it's the main character, and I'm like, this is too much. That whole scenario was so over the top and so absurd. I really enjoyed that. So before I give my score, I will say I think in general this movie had really fun situational comedy. Some really good side characters. You got some hooligans in there. We mentioned Armisen before. We got,
at the same time, I feel that scene actually made me laugh.
Oh yeah,
that scene in particular.
Really pretty scenery. Anytime you go into Europe and they're trying to take in the fact that you're in Europe, you get nice, pretty, beautiful old architecture and sweeping landscapes. You get a few quotable moments. Scotty doesn't know. It's just a good, dumb, fun movie. It doesn't float hard, but for me, it definitely floats.
I'm gonna say sink.
Ooh.
For one reason alone. I think that Bats, AC, Justin, you and I think if all 4 of us broed out in Europe for 3 days, I think we can make a funnier movie than this. Just us broing out in Europe. I think.
Wow.
Honestly. And Justin, if you're feeling the age of Lord Theo, you can come with us, man. It'll be a good time. Yeah, brother. Well, like a buddy of mine, I was supposed to go on the trip, but I had this whole wife kind of thing back home I had to take care of. But they were traveling around Europe for like 8 weeks, visiting like 32 countries, lived out of a van they bought while they were there. It's pretty sick, dude. Like that, like they have stories for weeks. I'm like, you guys could have made a movie better than this one. Like, there's so much. The idea of a Europe trip is so fun.
All right, so we got 1 float, we got 1 sink. AC, what are you?
I'm gonna go ahead and give it a float for Bats.
Hey, all right, Theo.
I'm assuming float is the good one.
Float's the good one, yeah.
Float if you think it floats, if it did what it wanted to do and that you liked it.
Yes, and I agree with you. This made me nostalgic for when movies used to just be fun, and it didn't have to be a political statement, and it didn't have to be a diversity quota. You could just make something silly and dumb, and you could go to the movie theater for an afternoon and be like, that was fine, and then go home, and you didn't have to worry, Ah, man.
Life was simpler, man. You could literally go to a theaters any weekend and find something to watch.
Oh, yeah.
Now it's like if I go and I'm not there for a specific movie, I'm like, no.
Like that's the thing.
Also
think about
no.
that. We used to just have this concept called going to the movies. And we're just gonna wander to the nearest movie theater, and we're gonna be drunk on the way there, and we're just gonna watch something when we get there. I'm sure there'll be something playing at some time, which will be good enough to justify spending money on.
Then we'll have to run out of the theater because we're drunk, and my English teacher in high school is there, and that we just don't want to deal with that. That's a different thing. That's a different thing altogether.
Well, yeah, and but now it's like what if we're gonna go to the movie theater? It's like shit. What are we gonna see? Let's all Google it. Let's all try to agree on something, and it costs like fucking $40 a head between snacks and soda and like fucking parking.
Well, it's
or
like
whatever.
$15-$20 just for the ticket now, and then God
Yeah.
forbid you get anything to eat or drink. It's bad.
Yeah,
dude.
and it's just, so especially if you're like my buddy has
leave it
goes
on.
with his fiance and his middle school age daughter, and it's by the time he's probably spending $50, $60, $70 to take everybody to the theater and get all their snacks and everything. So it's just like, you got to really like what you're seeing.
Yep.
Spend that kind of money, and so, but then
I would
you'll be
stop.
less likely to take a risk on something doofy like a EuroTrip style movie, But if the ticket is $8 and it's like $1 for popcorn and $1 for soda, you're like, fuck it, here's a 10 spot.
$10. Yeah, $10. I'll take a risk on $10. Yeah.
Well, I'm like, I don't know, comedy, like action adventure type movies I like in theaters, but comedies I love too. And I can't even think of any comedies that came out in the past 5 years, like any big major comedy movies.
I feel like I just watch
pretty
YouTube
regular
for
clip.
comedy now.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly,
But in
like,
terms of
yeah.
film.
Comedy is
Have
illegal.
any come out?
I feel like there's been maybe one or two good movie comedies. I'm gonna look it up because I don't know.
I tried to not too long ago and I couldn't find it. Let me know what you come across, and we can get into it. We can talk about some of your stuff here, Theo. I got some AI jokes for you. Grok provided.
Ooh, very exciting.
So, they're home runs. They really understand who you are. There's actually one in here. I'm like, I should read this. This might be like the joke. I'm like, is this just a weird joke, or did Grok dig into like all of your personal history and pull out some stuff that I'm like, I don't know if I should say this on the air. Should maybe check this back. Anyways, the first one. Hey, podcaster Theo Snodgrass. Here's one for you. Why don't podcasters ever run out of material? Because they can just keep talking into the void.
Oh, good one.
But
That's what AC was at.
He
That's
got
an
me.
anti-joke, right? There you
Grok
go.
got me.
There you go. How about this one? Why did you bring a ladder to the bar? Because
Why?
you heard the drinks were on the house.
Oh,
There's actually a through line there. I can't believe it.
Here's
Also,
here's a-
this is a bad one. I'm looking it up. None of these comedies are comedies.
Yeah.
All of these are like other movies, like with a little bit of humor in them. Bill and Ted Face the Music, maybe. I didn't see it. I don't know if it was
No,
good.
that was a tragedy. Total tragedy. How about this one? Do you play chess at all? Grok seems to
sometimes.
think you.
I do.
He knows chess. All right, so know something about it. Says, why are you always so stoked to play chess? It's because you love when a pawn becomes a queen. I don't know either. I don't understand chess, but
That's either dumb
My
or
goal
it's
here-
way deeper than I'm willing to go on it.
my goal here was to bolster your confidence because AI is not going to take your job. There you go. Speaking
appreciate
of,
that.
all right, stand-up seems like one of the hardest art forms on the planet to me. Like, if you play an instrument or something, as long as your fingers are working or this and that, yeah, maybe the audience isn't receptive to your music. If it's just you and a guitar, that's a little bit closer to probably your craft. But
Yeah.
the song's kind of like it's a ride, man. Once it starts going, you just ride it, and even if the crowd's in it, you do your thing. But I feel like whenever you're doing stand-up, you have to have that relationship with the audience. You have to have that back and forth. If you don't play off the crowd, you're not going to win them over, and that seems so difficult to me. If you got a good room, cool, but I mean, how does it go? Like, if you're in a room, how do you refine on stage? Because it's different from venue to venue. Even just 10
Yeah.
miles down the road, the people might be totally different.
Yeah.
Do you just kind of grind through, or do you try to adapt on the fly, or is it just depend?
Yeah. Well, it's a little both. So part of it is like you recognize patterns. Like I always look at the crowd before I go on, and you recognize patterns, and it's a kind of a gut thing. But it's like, okay, like I know it's like if I'm like I was performing at kind of like a decent restaurant in Spirit Lake, Idaho one time. And so the audience is like, there probably wasn't anybody under 45 years old in that whole room. Everybody was on the upper side, a lot of gray hair. Right. So I'm like, okay,
that's when I'm whipping out the nasties, dude.
yeah, it's like, dude, was so funny. So I went up there and I was going on first. So I was just warming up the room for that set. And so I was like, okay. I was like, I bet you my dating app material is not going to work. My fucking, I'm going to take out
all my
the
millennial
episodes.
problems are out the window.
Yeah,
You
it's
weren't
just-
like, I was
it's
working.
flipping through the
It's not going to resonate
classified
with the
dating
audience,
section.
right? So I got to kind of adapt my stuff, and it was cool. It was fun. But then the guy who came on after me did a bunch of like R-rated stuff about how he and his wife went to a strip club in Mexico, and it ended up being a brothel, and there was cocaine there, and it fucking sucked the energy out of the room. They were not going with him on that premise at all. So you got to kind of
You got it's kind of a gamble, isn't it? You got to guess. You kind of got to hope, like take a look at where you're at and hope this material is going to work here.
Yeah, well, it definitely varies. I've learned that the only way to get really good at comedy is to go on the road and do it in front of a lot of different types of people. So you get very comfortable in your hometown. You see comics that, like Portland is like this, where there's certain comics that get very used to playing a Portland audience, and then they go even to other places in Oregon, and they're like, "Where are my non-binaries
Crickets.
at?" And nobody says shit because you're
No
not
one
in-
said. Have you heard
Right.
someone say that out loud?
Yeah,
of
more or less. It's like,
Jesus.
well, it's like they get so used to playing for progressive audiences that they think they can shit on the troops and get away with it. And it's like you can't do that in every part of the country. Like some part of
No,
the country that's going to go really bad.
actually,
and-
most parts of the country. Yeah.
Yeah. And here's the thing: when I was in Portland recently, Portland's on my brain because I was just there. But I was at a truck stop in this place. It's called like I forget what I probably shouldn't say the name of the venue on the podcast just in case, but they're really rad. So they have it's a concert venue and it's a truck stop, but it's also got a concert venue, a movie theater, a grocery store, a hotel.
I feel like I've
nicer
been here.
hotel. Like it's got all this stuff at this centralized location. It's supposed to be like it's like the Mall of America of truck stops. It's where it's got a bunch of cool stuff there for truckers. To hang out.
Untold amounts of ungodly things have happened in those bathrooms.
Oh yeah, dude. And so as a comedian, like if I stay a few days here, that puts me within reach of Tacoma, Seattle, Portland, basically everywhere in that region. I'm now in a centralized location to be able to get there, right? So it's a dope little spot to sit and chill for a few days and get some road work in. But I'm in Portland thinking, I was thinking the whole time I was getting ready for the gig, I was like, I bet this is going to be a super progressive audience. And then I'm kind of like having fun. And the guy's like, somebody shouts out, talk about politics. I was like, what kind of room is this? We got Trump people in here. Whole room lights up. Woo! Because they're truck
Dude, no
drivers.
way.
Yeah.
They're truck drivers.
That's
So
it.
I found the one fucking Trump supporting hotspot in Portland.
In Portland, the
And
only
I'm in
one.
it. So so I have to kind of deal with that. And also if I'm playing, if I a lot of I didn't realize until I started going on the road a bunch, how much of my material was age gated, if I'm talking about Netflix dating shows, that's a millennial thing. That's, older audiences have no idea they don't know what I'm referencing with that. So that's why I think relationships is good, because relationships transcends gender. Pretty much everybody
Transcends
gets that.
everybody above a certain age has understands something like relational humor in a sense.
Yeah, and that's I talk about my cat a bunch. My cat jokes, I have a lot of cat material. It's not all online, but I do a lot
You talk about a lot of pussy.
Yes. Well, so here's the thing. So I worked that joke out. I used to go to this open mic at a lesbian bar. And
no way.
it was a tough room for me. I'd go in and it's I immediately I can feel the animosity, and I'm like, all right, here's the thing. Lesbians I do well. The lesbians that are more the dude lesbians, they're kind of the fuckboy lesbians.
I've worked for some of those. They can be really raunchy and really
that's
cool.
what I'm saying. To them, because being the lesbians who look like Justin Bieber and they've got neck tattoos and short hair, those lesbians they vibe with my fuckboy humor. They're into it. But the more girlier, feminista, more political armpit hair lesbians.
They tend to pair up. You ever notice that?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Because even when it's two chicks, there's the guy and there's the gal. I feel like there's a joke somewhere in there, but yeah.
Yeah.
So which one of you pretends to have the penis? Let's just get that out of the way now.
But like, so when I'm talking to those people, it's like, fuck, man, it's a tough room for my kind of material. So it's like, what can I talk about? Oh, well, I bet they have cats, and they sure as fuck do. So it's like, okay, I can relate to you now. We've got a point of, commonality, And so I agree. But like, as far as like reading the room in real time, it's like, usually it goes pretty well because I'm kind of like used to it and I can like ride the vibe. Sometimes it goes bad. I had a night, I was in Medford, Oregon, not too long ago, and it was the second night. I was doing Friday and Saturday, and Friday I did really well and everybody told me how great I was. So I got up there Saturday really cocky, and the crowd was significantly older on Saturday night.
Oh,
and so my material wasn't hitting as much as I expected to, but I noticed that the room really liked crowd work. So I was like, okay, I was kind of going in the crowd, but then
hold on, Theo. I got one question for you. A comedy friend of mine up here in Tacoma told me this. He said that if you're doing crowd work, it means that you're out of material. Not always, but typically that's what it means.
So, yeah, well, okay. So there is an anti-crowd work bias I've noticed in particularly the state of Washington where people say things like that. I have noticed that. Yeah, that is true. That is something where people
dunking on my state. Yeah, no, it's fine. It sucks.
My state too. Yeah, I can't help it. Yeah, and it's like, that is one thing I've noticed. There are people who do it when they run out of material. Some people do it just to kind of like supplement. Some people do it to kind of like tie material together. There's kind of a conversational style that comes from doing a lot of like small, intimate open mics. This is super interesting for your audience, I'm sure. Doing a bunch of like small, intimate open types. Like if it's me and I'm performing at a Denny's for 6 people and they're 5 feet away from me, it's weird if I'm just standing there looking over their heads like, how about that airline food? It'd be weird for me to not address
if it wasn't personal with only 6 people, that would be a really odd experience.
It's just you can't scale that to a stadium very easily. That's why And also, so the problem with that is, let's say if you're the headliner and your face is on the poster, you can do whatever you want. But if you're the host or you're opening for some guy, and let's say I'm opening for a guy who doesn't like a lot of crowd work and he doesn't like a chatty crowd, and I'm out there doing crowd work. Well, now
the expectation's been set.
Now I've set the standard where the audience feels like they can yell at the performer. And there's a lot of guys who don't like to work that way. I got used to doing rowdy rooms, because I started when I was quite young, and so I had grown men.
How old were you?
The first time I got on stage, I was like 18. But
that's pretty ballsy at 18. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it was rough, dude. I was doing open mics at my college, and so I was just like bombing in front of people that I had to see in class the next day. I was bombing in front of women that I would sex with, and that's a really tough thing to do, to bomb in front of women.
I've been doing it my whole life. It ain't that hard.
You get it. You understand. You get where I'm coming from. It's just living. It meant to do stand-up comedy in that environment meant to live in a constant state of humiliation. But and it's like, and also like I was in LA.
I just learned something about you. Continue.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Well, it's like. And it's just, I don't know. It's good because part of it is just like, kind of becoming bulletproof and kind of immune to it. And you kind of get used to, okay, the crowds move in patterns. You can kind of be like, okay, I can realistically expect this to happen. But I was in Medford. I had a woman in the front row who was drunk and who was recently divorced. And she was kind of announced this to the room. Yeah. But she was very drunk and she was starting to chirp. And now I knew I'm about 7 minutes into a 30-minute set, and I know in 10 minutes she's going to be really annoying. So I decided to shut her up right now. And I said,
cut off the snake's head now. Yeah.
Right. So I said, your husband don't want you, sweetheart. What makes you think I do? Now, here's the problem with that. That was really mean, and the audience didn't hate her yet. So they all went, ooh, now they hate me. Because they didn't know, they don't know that in 10 minutes she was going to be insufferable.
Ruining the experience for everybody.
They didn't know that. I looked at
it's like, hey guys, anyway, I'm Theo. What, you're divorced? Fucking bitch. No.
That's right. So now I look like an asshole, and nobody knows why I dropped the hammer on her like that. They don't have that context. So now I have to dig my way out.
Aren't most people at comedy like scenes drunk? Majority of them? at least a little bit.
Yes, and honestly, I don't even mind it if they shout out. It's just like if you're gonna shout one thing and then pause and wait for me to say something, I almost don't mind that. Like, I mean, we could do a couple of those, but if you're gonna just while I'm talking, that's going to create a problem, especially if you're right in front of me. Like, I need that to stop. Like, I don't even mind, people yelling at me really that much. Cause it's like, every once in a while, especially I'll invite that too. I don't too much mind it. Cause every once in a while, an audience member says something funny.
Yeah, sometimes.
I was doing a show one time and I was trying to figure out, like, who's single? It makes noise if you're single. It makes noise if you're in a relationship. Who doesn't have kids and still wants them, blah, blah, blah. We're just having fun with the crowd, getting them hyped up. And this one really old guy in the front row clapped that he wanted to have kids. I was like, bro, you're still trying, bro? You gotta be shooting cobwebs at this point. You gotta retire. And he was like, hey, cobwebs still stick. And it was just that was funnier than anything I could have said.
Dude, I know what I'd be sitting there like, dude, he probably gets more pussy than me. Shit.
Probably does. Yeah,
probably does,
like,
dude.
He was confident.
Christ.
But to answer your original question, like, my impression is that the winds have definitely shifted, but people are waiting for somebody else to say something first. Like, everybody, like, if you say something edgy, people will be like, shouldn't have said that. They're checking over but they want to be a part of it. And I think what it really is like most people are cool, but the annoying people are the loudest, and they are the ones who will try to ruin your life on purpose. This happens on Twitter periodically. I was on Twitter one time and I got into a spat with somebody, and they were like, I'm cataloging all of his right-wing podcast appearances. And I'm like, bro, please do. Because that would ruin something.
You're gonna sell some of my tickets. Yeah,
like in your social group, being on a right-wing podcast is a bad thing. In my social group, that makes me cool. Please put together a compilation of all the awesome shit I say on podcasts for me. That's a pain in the ass for me to do it.
That's a lot of work. Honestly, you're saving me some time.
Saving me time, dude. Like. And they don't get it because they live in completely different worlds. And I think
very insular usually.
And it's very echo chamber. So if you only talk to people who think and act just like you, then you think. And what's crazy is I bet a lot of the people in these woke circles, they live in a state, especially the white dudes who are there. They live in a constant state of fear that they're going to say the wrong thing and get excommunicated, right? So they don't want to live this way either, but they don't want to be a bad person.
Yeah,
and they don't want to lose their whole social group.
And some are just using it as like a social like they're gaming the system a little bit. Like I have a story from COVID about a guy who was like this. So we're like in Home Depot. I'm not wearing a mask. I'm a construction guy. Who gives a shit? And I'm in line. I'm returning something and gonna go get the proper material. This guy's like, "Hey, you got to put on a mask." I'm like, "No, I'm inside. I'm already in line. You have a ponytail." And then the guy starts really coming after me, and this is how I know he is full of shit. He's like, "You just don't care about any of these people." You pokes me in the chest, starts to like physically touches me. I'm like, okay, so this is just like a little dick measuring contest for your ego. Okay, you want to exert power over a stranger. I see what you're doing. Yeah. Fucking that dude. I was lit up. I want to take that. I wanted to throw down like I hadn't since I was a teenager, man.
Yeah. That's the thing. I think you hit it exactly right. I think a lot of these people, what they get out of the woke stuff is they get to be righteous and put themselves up here and like
be the judge
others. They get to judge others, and it's like I had an experience. I was at an open mic a couple of years ago, and there was the transgender lady comedian there, a dude who not
okay. I was gonna say when you say a trans like lady or guy, I'm like, no wait, now is it now? I have to like try to do the mental math to figure that out.
It was a dude who was attempting to pass himself off as a woman and not doing an awesome job, but I kind of just whatever because it's just not. I just don't want to die on this hill. I don't want to have this fight. So I'm just like not gonna do it. It's whatever. You're here, and I don't need to be a part of it. Like, just you know, I don't need to make a whole big thing out of it. I'm just gonna call you the name.
You're wearing a dress, whatever, dude.
It's fine.
Ahead,
whatever makes you happy, bro. I really don't care. Whatever makes you happy, right? So we're hanging out, and I'm kind of like riffing with a couple, 3 other comedians, and we're having a good time. And this person, I accidentally used a he pronoun instead of a she pronoun. Oh, no. So the conversation continues. Everything's going fine, and then this person decides to stop the conversation abruptly, point out that I had done this, and ask what I intended to do about it. Wait. And then now I'm in this situation where everybody's looking at me now, and I have to calculate, and I'm like, my bad, bro. Like, my bad. Like, I kind of like step back in that situation, and I realized I was like, oh, this person is threatening me with social death.
Yeah, if you apologize, then that's an admission of guilt, which then gives them permission to attack you more.
Yes, and if I like stand on business, but here's the thing: I didn't do it on purpose. I wasn't there for righteous indignation. I was just like riffing, and kind of said something quickly, and it was part of a different, like it was part of a whole conversation. It wasn't the focus, like it clearly wasn't intentional, and it was. And like making
someone wanted a couple of victim points for the night.
Yeah, exactly. And that was when I felt like, oh, this person wants the social power. They get a little bit of a thrill over exerting power over me like this. This gives them a little bit of a thrill.
Why can't these people just go work middle management at a fast food joint like they used to?
God, right? and here's, or go to the DMV, for fuck's sake, man. Go somewhere.
It's like no one there. It's like you have to wait for your number to be called, sir. No.
Well, here's the thing: when you put yourself in that situation, you make yourself very, very difficult to be friends with, right? Because you force everyone around
to be around in general.
Yeah, everyone around you has to walk on eggshells all the time, and they have to, they know that being honest with you is a risk because you might not be able to, like, they might say something that you can't tolerate, and in that event, like, who knows how you're going to react. And so what you've done is you've rendered yourself to be in a permanent state of social isolation. Everyone will tense up when you're around forever. Everyone will, like, all the jokes will stop when you show up to the circle, right? Forever, if you choose to operate this way. And it's not a trans thing. It's there's lots of trans comedians who have no trouble making jokes with people. Like, that exists, right?
I've seen it, but it's not that common. Not horribly common.
No, it's not outrageously common. No, it tends to go hand in hand with this weird, everybody needs to shut up and cater to me life philosophy.
It's like all the bi guys that were around when I was growing. Like this guy explained it to my dad before I was born in Hawaii in the 90s. Like, most of these gay guys are actually bi guys. It's just that they want the physical side of the relationship without the relational, and that's what a whole bunch of these like a lot of these guys would definitely like hammer fisted like on a blacktop with a woman, but men are just more prone to do that faster with less preamble, so to say. And so like that was kind of his perspective. Is just like
football, engineering, busy getting drafted, stuff like that.
Sorry, I thought you were talking about a weird like Canadian sex position again.
That too, yeah.
What do you call a flat football? Actually, never mind. I don't know about that one.
The Maple Pipeline. You guys ever get down with the Maple Pipeline?
The Alaskan Pipeline.
It's like that, but the Canadian.
Oh, with the surf.
Yeah.
So it shows the places you're going, is it usually that the people that are coming to see, are they coming to see comedy, or are they just out and comedy happens to be happening? Because it's weird to me if you go to see comedy and then be like, I don't like this guy, he's not funny. It's like, the guy's trying to make you laugh. You're here to see comedy. Like, it's not like people go up on stage and try to not be funny whenever they are a comedian, but some people bring that energy as an audience member. It's so weird because, like you were saying, you get a good audience member that makes the show just as much as the good comedian,
Sure. Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay. If it's a comedy club, usually people know what they're getting. But a lot of shows now are done in just
like in a bars
and breweries and fucking family restaurants.
People could be there and have no idea that this is going down.
Yeah, and so at that point, I'm just like inflicting comedy on them, and I have different ways of approaching rooms like that because
How dare you?
it feels rude to me. Like even if I'm being paid to be there and like the show is promoted, like I still feel bad because there's somebody in the audience who just like came.
I
out
didn't
for
come
a
up here to
hot
be
dog.
lectured to by a redhead. Seriously.
Yeah, like that's just right. And they look at me and it's like the reality of comedy is like comedy's not for like my comedy's not for everyone, just like nobody's comedy is for everyone. It's like, and comedy really does have genres too. Like people don't realize that, but if you put me on a set with a guy who does one-liners and a guy who does a bunch of jokes about like being black in Chicago, it's going to be a weird vibe. Like it.
How many being black in Chicago jokes do you have? I'm just off the top of your.
Yeah, it's going to take all my material. And then I'm not gonna.
Yeah, you guys switch roles.
No. I filed my tax. I have a different tax bracket. It just doesn't. The comedy doesn't work. No.
No, it's good. But it's like that is a real problem. And usually if it's a comedy club, usually in the clear, but every once in a while, some people are just like not well suited for outside. Like some people, they should just stay inside and scroll on Twitter where you can cancel people. Like they should do that and not go outside. But I'm somewhat sympathetic to these bar shows where it's like, okay, I understand, even though I was invited here and most people are okay with what's happening, I understand that every once in a while people come out and they're not expecting it. This is the advantage.
I might have a bad personality to be a comedian because if someone's getting offended by something, that just makes me want to go harder, like way harder.
I think that's the right instinct. It depends. And honestly, you kind of gotta just have a thick skin. And also, part of the thing is like a lot of this, like if the audience is going to react badly, sometimes that's not within your control. Like it's because there's the whole like you can do everything right and still have a terrible fucking night because of external factors, and so you just gotta kind of like have a thick skin and just deal with it. Like you just
gonna say, have you ever done a show and as you're making the jokes, the people look like they're laughing, but maybe they're not really into it, and you're like, man, this is not going well. And then at the end, it's just the personality of the people, and they actually really enjoyed it. They're just not like heavy, hardy laughers.
Yeah, that happens sometimes for sure. Especially acoustics play a role in comedy. People don't realize this, but when you do comedy, you want low ceilings. You want the tables pushed close together.
You want things to echo a little bit.
Yeah, and that allows the laughter. Laughter's contagious, and it kind of jumps from table to table, and you get everybody having one shared group experience. That's part of it. And there's a cadence to it, and there's words to it, and like there's like body motion that goes into it, and you can kind of, if you're doing it right, you kind of draw people in and create this almost hypnotic experience with the audience. That's really hard to do if you're in like a fucking karaoke bar and there's guys playing pool in the back, and there's a waitress with her nipple out, and everybody wants to look at that. It's really hard. And there's like,
well, can you blame them, sir?
No, I can't. I don't want to be here. I want to look at that too. But
anytime you ask, I'll show up shirtless. I'll be the nipple in the room for you.
I appreciate it.
Anytime.
Hashtag nipples in the room. W's in the chat for the nipple in the room. And that's real though. Like that's most of like going on the road, and it's like, okay, I'm in fucking Billings, Montana, at a building that used to be a Chuck.
Do you take your wife with you?
And it's like I'm blessed to or cursed to not be married, but if here's the thing, I would, if I had a wife, I would want to take her on the road, but also I'm not sure I would want her to see me doing this. I would, you know what I mean? I don't even want the audience to see me doing it. I don't invite people I know to see this because for me, it is so ugly. But like, if I have it's not that I never get good shows. I get good, like anytime I get to play a comedy club
are you just too hard on yourself, or like?
Yes.
Yeah, I think every good comedian has to be a little bit.
Yeah, it's the best sets I ever have. I'll be like, yeah, I can't think of anything to complain about. I'm really sitting here trying. That's like my best compliment that I'll give to myself. And then, I think, and it's like I'm always happy for the opportunity to do comedy, and I will never shit on the venue at the venue because it's a great way to not get invited back.
You figure that out, huh?
Yeah, it turns out people who own bars and restaurants are pretty proud of them. And if you spend the whole first 5 minutes of your set fucking
shitting on the bar and the drinks and how terrible the atmosphere is. Yeah,
which is I've seen guys do that, and I'm like, dude, they're letting us do comedy here. Can you just fucking chill? Because here's a lot of venues will just like they'll have comedy one time. And then somebody makes a Nazi joke, and they're done. They never get to go back in that room. And
they did not see it coming.
No, they did not. That's there's some dudes that
I would be kicked out anyway.
And that's the thing. You get good rooms in Idaho. This is not a problem. In Idaho, people are just like whatever. They can tolerate all kinds of stuff, and they have a thick skin, and it's okay. But in the Pacific Northwest, people are a little more sensitive, and it's not everybody, but it's enough people. It's enough.
What about what's the vibe in the stand-up comic community or whatever the word is, fellowship on
that's a strong word.
I know, right? Cruise ship comedians. Is that like that's like where you go like elephant graveyard, or is it actually like a cool gig?
Some of those guys are really funny.
Here's the thing. Okay, so different guys have different things. So some guys are like, I would rather die than go on a cruise ship. And then you talk to guys who work cruise ships, and it's like, this is what life's like on a cruise ship. You get all your money, all your food and rent is paid for, and you get to go to the most beautiful places in the world for weeks at a time. Yeah. And it's like
people are always excited to be there because they know why they're there in the club, and they're there for comedy. And if you know what kind of works generally for this crowd, the crowd's going to be the same most of the time.
Yeah, and so if you're a guy, let's say you're 50 plus, and you're sick of going on the road, you can make really good money doing cruise ships, and you got to think you're talking to an audience that's like 40 to 60 because it's people who can afford to go on cruises, right?
Right.
So if you're willing to do that, like you can make a lot more. Like I met a guy, I opened for a guy not too long ago who does cruise ships regularly. And he makes really good money doing that. And so it's like some people, I don't know, to me, like anybody who's like paying their bills and like feeding their family doing comedy is like, that's
kind of a miracle already.
Yeah. Like that's sick to me. Like the fact that you like, I like, to me, I don't know, this pretentious attitude of like, oh yeah, cruise ships are lame. It's like, nah, dude, that's, like, I don't know, man. It's hard for me to judge it. I'm kind of looking at it like, hey, I think that's pretty badass. You're on a cruise and killing it. And if you're willing to go on the cruise longer, they pay you more money. And it's like, yeah, it seems like you're cheating the system. You get basically a working vacation, and it's like, is it?
I've been told it can get repetitive a little bit.
Sure. Yeah, and that honestly, I will say going on the road is kind of repetitive too. I will say that it is a lot of, I guess the advantage of doing comedy in like dingy dive bars and going to clubs and stuff is you have a little more freedom with what you can say. Whereas on the cruise ship, you got to keep it within the restrictions of whatever they tell you. Like sometimes they'll do like a PG show, and then on Friday night after a certain time of night, all of a sudden it's an R-rated comedy show, and you're allowed to really get into it. But you're really doing massive. You're like, okay, what would a 40 to 60-year-old audience, 90% of them, if I wanted to make them laugh? Because what are the comedians that 90% of people like? It's like fucking Fluffy. It's Jeff Dunham with the puppets. It's Jim Gaffigan. It's fucking Nate Bargatze, probably the most popular comedian in the world right now, and he doesn't curse at all.
Oh, I don't even know who that is. That's funny.
That's the thing. It's like for like I fuck with like Louis C.K. and Bill Burr and like Patrice O'Neill. So I never listened to Nate Bargatze. But if you ask a random normie in an elevator, if you get 6 of them, who do you like? They're going to say Fluffy, Jeff Dunham, Nate Bargatze, you know, like these guys that are not to shit on what they do, you know, but they're not pushing any social boundaries.
Yeah. And like, I don't approve, but I kind of get it. If you're a big comedian, like you've been doing this for a decade and a half, 2 decades, like you're wealthy now, and you have your niche and you do well. I'm like, yeah, you're wealthy now. You're comfortable. You don't want to get canceled one day for, you know, whatever reason. You don't want to get Louis C.K. into oblivion just out of nowhere.
Yeah, like dude lost $40 million. Like I've already reached the point where I've decided that like casual sexual encounters are no longer worth the risk. You know, like I'm actually like I really want to get it, despite my appearance and reputation and podcast and all of my stand-up material.
All the disgusting videos you send us beforehand.
Literally, despite everything about my personality and the way I look and act and think and talk, I actually do want to be in a serious relationship.
You sound like an OF girl, dude.
Dude, I'm a comedian. That is the male equivalent of a sex worker.
It kind of is, dude. You're selling yourself.
Podcast. That's a male only.
Everybody loves you, but nobody wants to invite you to Thanksgiving. I get it.
Exactly. Dude, that is so real. I'm working on a bit about this right now. This is so real. And I want to be in a serious relationship because here's the thing. I do get like a lot of random casual sexual opportunities, like doing comedy and stuff. Not all of them are desirable. This makes it sound cool. It's not. It's gross. It's like if your mom was drunk and horny and was like just rubbing the side of my face. That's what I want you to imagine my sexual opportunities are. That's
more than some people get.
It's not what I'd want. Whereas if I had a serious relationship, I could like go back to my hotel and I'd be like, oh, you know, I just, you know, bombed at a rodeo. And
I heard one of those words wrong, brother. That's all I'm saying.
And she's like, you can do it, baby. It's like,
oh, that's how you imagine a relationship.
Yes,
okay. That's
how I imagine it. Is that wrong? I know your experience has been different, but
some women are like that. Some are pretty cool. Others will laugh at you actively when you tell them that.
See, that's tough. That's a tough situation. What about you, panel? Do you guys have anything to say in defense of women?
Oh,
there are lots of wonderful women. Justin married one. AC married one.
On all sides.
I've dated a few. Not in long term. I married one that wasn't. I got stories out the wazoo for that, dude.
Dude, you got to come on my podcast for that shit.
I might have to, dude. That sounds like, dude, I had stories for days. Also about the weird phenomenon of a bunch of old Asian women really being into me. That's a weird thing I discovered when I got divorced. They also all like 2/3 of them also think that I'm Asian partially. I'm not Asian at all. Yeah.
Where's that coming from?
Like I have a slight squint, not quite here, but just enough. They're like, oh, with your hair, are you Korean? I'm like, no, I'm not Korean. Like I'm making my voice like extra like Caucasian all of a sudden.
No, buongiorno.
I remember like when the first time it happened, it was like in 1 week I had 3 older Asian women, like 45 and older, like ask me if I was Asian. Only one I was sleeping with.
There was a time when AC went to the bars, and let me tell you, it was such a time. I saw it this one time, and I saw the ladies that hit on AC, and let me tell you, kind of black.
Dude, you were a frontliner for a band. You had it falling onto your lap if you weren't dodging.
Fair.
No denial. Absolutely no denial.
Well, I found out a lot of times that they're actually scared to talk to me, is what it turned out to be. So, like, on my end, I felt like I'm just like, oh, nobody wants me. But I was happy to just date, right? Just like have long-term relationships or whatever. But it's just like, where's all the screaming girls people talk about or whatever?
They're shy now.
Come to find out, they're extremely shy. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so that means the ones that aren't. It's like, what?
The ones that aren't have given it to every single frontman that's come through the area. That's the problem. Yeah.
Why aren't you shy? Yeah.
It's like I like Theo. This is my situation. Married, 19, had kids early, all that. Up until age 28, I had never made out with a woman besides my wife. Kissed a few, but never made out. Like nothing beyond that. And then I went for a year. I went crazy. I have all these stories that come back. I'm like, yeah, never mind. I want to go back. I want to go back. We have to go back.
Yeah,
that's the whole thing, man. I'm like, how? Like, and then I look over at some of my friends like that I knew like when I was younger, and they're still living that life. I'm like, how can you do this your entire life? You're like, you're my age. You're 30. How can you still do this, man? It's exhausting.
So listen. So I was at a club a couple of weeks ago. I won't say the city, because there's only one club there. And I was
Portland. No,
I was opening for this headliner who's like 60, right? And he was married and he all this blah blah blah. He was giving me all this like comedy and life advice, and he was doing it in this really harsh way, like he was fucking what's his name from Whiplash, fucking
J.K. something.
J.K. Simmons from fucking Whiplash. And so I was like vibing with it because I was like, yes, fucking it abuse me if it makes me better at comedy. I'll take that, because I want to get better. And I was like, oh man, I was really starting to admire this guy. And then I saw him corner and hit on the 22-year-old waitress at age 60 and while married. And by the way, his wife is a comedian who tours with him, which makes me wonder
they know
if she had been there that night. You think, dude.
Well, and when you do that,
dude, women know everything. They'll some women of a certain age would act like they wouldn't. They knew.
Like that had to work at least one time in that dude's life. Doing that had to work at least one time. Yeah.
That whenever someone's like hating on an older guy for flirting with a younger woman, I'm like, I get it, but it worked at some point.
Right.
Yeah.
When it shouldn't, at some age, it's worked when it shouldn't have worked. Like maybe even as a joke.
They're hating on it, like, dude, back
off. It does. It worked with me later in that same waitress.
There you go.
It's like not even that weird. Like a couple years ago, there was this cute girl like at a grocery store or some shit. She's like that, like a girl that was really emo in high school and probably grew out of it into like her mid-20s. While you could still feel the touch of that. And I was like, so I asked her out, and she's like, it was like going. She said yes, it was going great. And she's like, wait. And she's like, wait, how old are you? I'm like, wait, how old are you? 18. I'm like, that's a bit like I'm 29 at the time. I'm like, no, that's weird. Yep, calling that. Yep, that was too weird.
Yeah, I think bar and I mean even like car rental is a good threshold, right?
I agree. It's just. Well, I don't know. Here's the thing. I like women in their 20s because they still think they're going to be happy someday.
And they're attractive.
Yeah.
Unrelated, but...
Yeah. It's the optimism for me. But if you get too far down there, it is like... Yeah. It's just really hard to talk to them. And it's like, all right, this can't be good for either of us. I don't think
it's like... It's at some point, it's like...
Yeah.
At some point, you got, I don't know, you gotta, I want to have somebody like I can have an adult conversation with. I'd say probably like 26, 27 is about my cutoff these days. Maybe like 25. I don't know. But
how old are you?
I'm 33.
Okay. Well, I'll say if you met the right woman who's 23, it wouldn't matter.
Yeah, I'd say
that's the thing.
I would say if it was the right, because here's the thing, I say all this, I talk all this shit, but then I meet couples where there's like an age gap and they met later and they were like, yeah, this was optimal for both of us and we both think this situation rocks. And it's like, okay, well, because that's what I hear it the most from is like women who are like 40 plus. They'll be like, what you need is a girl about 10 years younger than you to straighten you out because that's about your maturity level. And I was like, that's rude
and true. 100%.
Yeah, I don't. It's unfortunate, but yeah.
So your channel, you got on the Touch Grass podcast. You talk a lot of relationships and things like that. What's the ultimate, like, because you were talking about like romantasy at one point and this
Yes.
sort of thing? Is the goal of the channel?
I need to come on and talk about that, dude. I've read a lot
Absolutely.
of really bad books.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. My goal is I want men and women to get along, and so one of the things that I'm noticing is that failures of men don't. A lot of men, especially young men, don't understand what a woman is, and a lot of women don't understand what a man is. And I can't really like for my stand up. A lot of times I find myself like women are vibing with it, but on the podcast, I'm mostly talking to young men. It's Gen Z men. That's who listens to podcasts, at least mine. That's what the demographics say. Like I have maybe 4% of my audience on a good day is female. The rest of it's male, and it's all Gen Z guys. And the guys who hit my DMs and who post in the comments are looking with questions. They're looking for answers. They want to know how to talk to the cute girl in their class that they like at college or whatever. Like they want to know how to get a girlfriend. They want to know. And a lot of times they don't even, they think that like, you see these young guys now, they're just fucking lost. Like they'll get horny and like subscribe to OnlyFans or leave hard eyes under like some e-thoughts fucking Twitter thirst trap. And it's like, bro, you're doing that in public. Have some self-respect. They don't understand what a woman is. So they don't understand how to get one to like them. And so what my show is, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to figure stuff out because I'm also trying to solve my own singleness. I am single because of my life choices. I'm not hiding the ball on that. That is my fault. I made dumb choices when I was younger, when I didn't know how important it was. And now I'm trying to like fix that. So I know a lot about like hooking up with women and like getting women to do stuff in the short term. I don't know hardly anything about like forming stable long-term relationships. So I know a lot about women kind of like in an academic sense, but I bring on other people who are like, I have my good friend Iron Oxide and his wife Selena, who's wonderful. I don't know if you know them. They're wonderful. They come on the show with me a lot because Iron he has the distinguished pleasure of being married to a woman that he likes. And so I'll bring him on. I'll be like, tell me how you did that. Because we all want to do it too. That's what we want to do. Tell us how you accomplished this, and she's cool. And so I have usually what we'll do is I'll kind of like outline a topic of something I want to talk about. And I'll try to kind of introduce the idea. And I usually bring on some other guys to kind of like toss around the dialogue. And I try to have girls on there too. I also, another goal of the show, so it's to get young guys information, but also I want to have cool chicks on my show a lot because right now, okay, so you've seen the podcast genre, whores say dumb things. That's what I call it. It's the whores.
Oh, like the whatever kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah, that
shit. Whores say
so
dumb
bad.
things podcast. A lot of young men, their impression of women is just coming through the phone. So all they see is that. Right?
No.
And it's like, well, I can be on the phone too. And what I'm saying, like I said this on my show last week, cool chicks outnumber obnoxious chicks 3-1, right? You're just the one is the loud one, right? So all you're seeing on the phone is the worst of the worst. But
if you're not out and about, you don't see real people.
Yeah,
that's all all there is to it. Men and women, you don't see real people.
That's right. And I think a lot of these young guys, especially, and women have their own set of problems that I'm not ignoring. I'm just not qualified to speak on that. I think a lot of these young men, they see like, if you are not like, they see all these videos of guys like on a yacht and they got Bugattis and they've got, Moldovan models. And it's like, well, if you don't have that, if you don't have a six pack and a Bugatti, just give up.
Also, what's wrong? What happened to like men and women dating people like within a reasonable range of their own attractiveness?
Yeah, that's the thing too. Is like we've kind of gotten to this point where your partner is a possession that is a status marker, and so you don't want to. You want to have. It's just like having a nice car. Or having a nice watch, or having it's like an extra
having designer clothes and
like
or the perfect vacation, the whole thing.
It's like actually the point is to have a human connection, and the truth is, like I said this on my show last week, like a lot of times hot chicks are just like not worth the effort. They're not worth the maintenance costs.
Not all of them, but I will say there is a percentage of very attractive women who that's all they have. There's no personality. Like there's some of the, like, if you take away all the attractiveness, like there's nothing interesting about them.
Well, here's the thing: you want someone who's like on your level that you can see. The point is like most people, like you won't, like most men will not know what it's like to be treated like a celebrity, but you can know what it's like to come home to a family that's happy to see you. Right. And that's a little piece of that. And that's yours and nobody else. That's yours. You know, like most women will never be treated like royalty or like a celebrity, but you can have a good relationship with your husband where you get kind of, treated really well and stuff. Like you can take care of your own little corner of the world. Right. But I think social media has encouraged people to seek out these external forms of validation. And it's like, you want to have a hot partner so you can post them on Instagram for likes and make your shitty friends from high school jealous, but like a lot of the things that make a relationship worth having don't translate super well to Instagram. Like just having somebody that's like in sync with your schedule and they know what needs to get done, so they anticipate it and they get ahead of it and they make your life easier. Like how do you synthesize that into like an Instagram photo? You can't, but that's what actually, life is a team sport.
Hey man, that Instagram photo had a really, really nice personality. 2 great asset, tremendous things.
Yeah. Well, I'm actually address this. I actually think meeting like the dating apps are, the younger generations are getting off dating apps. This is kind of the discussion going on in the comments. The younger generation is getting off dating apps, right? Meeting people in person is incredibly fraught because of the post Me Too climate and the post COVID climate. Like social skills have seriously retarded in the last few years because of a lot of different factors, right? And meeting people in church, girls, I will say, I go to church regularly. Girls in church, they are either married with 7 kids or they got big fucking homeschool energy. They act like they act and dress like they were raised in a bunker. And that's really hard for someone who's had my set of life experiences to relate to a woman.
There's nothing wrong with the homeschool girls. Like those girls can be the freakiest women you've ever met. You wouldn't know.
I agree, but they should date there's also a lot of homeschool dudes at church.
Yeah. And they're all related.
Well, they match each other's freak a little bit. They're the same kind of weird. Like
literally, if my
Go
entire family hadn't been like completely hounding me for the last 2 hours, it would have been nice to swap some road stories, because I have a lot of experience performing as well, and I'm happily married to somebody I love. So it really sucks just sitting here listening. Like, yeah, I got something to say about that. Oh no, maybe next time.
You also have children in life distracting you.
A few times I'm even right now, and I have to like force it over everybody. It's bullshit. So I'm sorry about that, but like, yeah, maybe on a future show we can actually swap some stories or something.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to have you guys over on the Touch Grass podcast. That would be great. Now doing multi-platform streaming. We're on Twitch and fucking X.
Oh, look at the big dog! Just all his money and his editing and his multiple platforms. No. It's great, dude.
You guys have a lot.
It's just like basic modern technology. It's like, oh, look at him, the pinnacle.
Right.
You all have a lot of potential for quick growth too, just because you have a good dynamic you have a little bit of rotation with some of the different people coming on, which keeps it interesting and fresh.
Yeah.
But everybody on there, there's like everybody vibes. Like the chemistry is always interesting. I think you're good at. It's weird. It's like you're good at working a room, and like although sometimes when the podcast gets out of hand, but then it's kind of like funny. You're like, I've lost complete control of what's going on here. We need to reel this back in. But it's entertaining and it's relationship, and there's a lot of people that want to hear about relationships. And I think the perspective that you, at least from what I've heard from some of the conversations, it's a little bit different than the flavors you get on some of the bigger shows. So I think I wouldn't surprise me if you guys get big quickly.
I appreciate that, man. Well,
yeah, I'm looking forward to checking out your show, because honestly, I didn't even know who we had as a guest until like an hour ago, 2 hours ago.
Dude, well, yeah, I did not prepare either. I just watched the movie. I thought Battsauce was going to be here. I know him, so I thought that was but that was fine. I just hopped in. You guys have been really cool to me, so I appreciate that.
No, man, it's been a blast, and you're like, we every now and again we get a guest who like won't talk, and I love when that's not a problem.
Good. Yeah.
It's like some people, it's like, tell us about your like product. No. And they're like, oh, well, it's like this. I'm like, oh, cool. How about you elaborate on?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes it's like pulling teeth. I was like, oh no, we got a stand up. He talks all the time, unless it's like some kind of weird. But I saw your show too. I was like, I know he's good on camera. I was like, it's a good kind of thing where he puts all of that energy just on stage. But I was like, no, he'll be fine. Because even with Kahuna, with the you got the little ones running around, things like
No,
that.
I'm still sick too. Normally, I don't have my kids here for the show, and
Also the sickness. And then
it's just a fun time,
I was
dude.
like, it's fine. We could just all bail out and just let Theo run the show for
happy.
us.
Anybody who's got kids in this world, man, I'm rooting for you. We're at a birth rate crisis, man. So you're doing your part. You're pulling your weight. I gotta get like you, man. Seriously.
We'll get there.
It's so much work, dude. And I have some kid stories that would make the best and worst, like most disgusting comedy bits of all time. And both of those things happened in like 2 months, within 2 months of each other. I have swallowed things from children. You do not. Yeah.
I heard that one. I'm not gonna say
I
it.
told AC. It's pretty sick. It's
I
pretty
know.
sick. Yeah.
No.
And the worst one, it's not the one that you would expect either. It's the other one, and that one's way worse. I don't know why.
Tough situation.
Just buckets full of stuff and no mess to clean up. I don't know. I don't even know how to tell. I'll tell you on your podcast. How about that?
Yeah, there we go.
I put more in there, Bubba.
What do you guys think about wrapping this bad boy up? Any last word?
I think we just go around and like chill a little bit and call it a day there. Albert, step out.
All right.
So we'll just go in order here. We'll go bottom up. Justin, chill some shit real quick. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so same as always, you can find my music. I do rock and metal. You type in Evaleighmusic, whatever stream platform you listen to music on, you can check out my stuff there. Got plenty in the coming down the pike. I got a song done for Lord Otter for his next book that's like a power metal tune, kind of in the same vein as Power that I did, sort of that kind of style. And then I'm working on a bunch of my own like death metal-y kind of stuff. Hopefully I'll probably release a single at some point in the next handful of months, and then maybe summer do like a fatter EP is what I'm aiming for. So lots of good stuff to come up, but plenty to listen to as of now as well. So thanks, appreciate the chat as always, and Theo, good talking to you. And I guess I'll pass this up to AC. What you got, man?
Well, we just released the next episode of the Iron Seas newsletter, which is a new flash fiction. Rensu takes a friend vacation. It's called the Fellowship of the Rensu. Him and Job go on a friend vacation, and wieners are had. So, it's a little fictional character we have. He has a hand like follows him around. His name is Job. Job, like the biblical Job.
Yeah.
But
Put that together.
Read it like Job, so you can do clever jokes. Anyway, yeah. So aside from that, not much else. Just chucking away along over here. Editing my book. I've been actually working on an audiobook narrated by me. I just finished the second scene. I think there's about one more scene left. So I'm planning on putting that up on the Pritchard Pub pretty soon, next couple days. Check it out.
Sweet, dude. All right, Theo. Chill your shit, man. Go for it.
Yeah. All right. Well, this is great. So you can. Somebody posted my whole fucking link tree in the chat earlier. I would appreciate it if that could happen again, because that's where all my links are. I appreciate you, man. I am on the Touch Grass podcast Saturdays at 11 a.m. That's probably the best place to find me. That's on my YouTube channel. I also do the Rogues Gallery on Fridays at 5:30. These are Pacific times I'm giving. 5:30 Pacific on Fridays. I'm with Iron Oxide over on his show, and 9:30 p.m. I'm over on Drunken Emerald Arrow's show. Insert title here. So I'm all over the place. But my show is 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on Saturdays. That's Touchgrass Podcast with Theo Snodgrass. I also
that's a good time too. I might have to make that work at some point.
Oh yeah, the morning Saturday show is the move. People like it, and I can get East Coast people as well, because for the night shows it's hard to get East Coast people.
I know, dude. That's like all of my friends, like creatively, all are like middle of the United States or East Coast. It sucks, dude.
Yeah, and so be on the lookout. I also just dropped a merch store, so that's very exciting. I got a lot of fun stuff on there. I'm very proud of. I got the Patreon. So basically, how it works is I put my YouTube, I'm kind of retooling that right now. We're going to be putting like shorts and stuff on the YouTube. And if you like the shorts, go to the Patreon. If you give me $5 a month, you can have everything I make. And I just put a crowd work show on there that I filmed recently. I'm going to be filming another one in a couple weeks.
How do you film that? Do you have someone, do you set up a camera somewhere and then just let it go?
That one I hired a crew, and this next one I'm going to be bringing in a few of my guys to do it. So I bring in a crew to get multiple camera angles. So that one turned out kind of okay. I think this will be the third one I've tried to film, and it should be a little better. And the cool thing about it is if I'm focusing on a crowd work show, I'm not burning my material. So I can just kind of like, I could do one of those 5 days a week until the day I died if I could convince a venue to let me. So like those you can just do, right? And people like it, and it gives me fucking clips and shit. So basically what I'm going to do is if you give me $5 a month, you're going to get all of the comedy that I make, and you can just have it. And have it. That's how I'm structuring it. And I'm going to put more shit on the Patreon as I think of it. I'll probably do like Q&As and shit on there and whatever else I can think of, assuming I get more people. And so if you think I'm entertaining and you want to listen to my podcast, that's on my YouTube. Follow me on YouTube, follow me on X, follow me on Instagram, follow me on all my links. Most importantly, follow me on Patreon so that I can afford to keep doing this. We got to keep the lights on. My cat needs raw food, you know?
Oh, you not your kid like every other lonely Pacific Northwest person. It's my child. It's my child. Look at my kids.
No, he's an animal. He's an animal.
Thank God. One person on the West Coast who doesn't call their animal a child.
He is violent and selfish and rude, and he only comes here.
Sorry, kids are like that too, but yeah. Actually, just listen to this. You'll hear it. Told you. Anyway, guys, it's been an awesome show. Thank you all for tuning in. Theo, I mean, thanks for being here, I guess. I don't know. No, man, it was a blast having you. All right, guys, this has been the Iron Seas. See you next Tuesday, 6:30 PST, the Lord's time. Woo!